Chapter 1057, Modifying the Space Fragment. 1. After taking a bath, Wang Ting felt invigorated. He returned to his room, planning to start modifying his space fragment. He disappeared with a single thought. In the space fragment. Cao Jiaojiao woke up when she saw Wang Ting. She started shouting immediately, "Wang Ting, when are you going to release me?" She was going crazy here. Besides 2 star beasts, there was nothing here, and she was tied up. She couldn't do anything. "Huh? You're still here?" Wang Ting was shocked. He almost forgot about her. Cao Jiaojiao's face turned black. This bastard had forgotten about her. As the princess of the Cao family, she had never suffered such treatment before. She glared at Wang Ting and gritted her teeth in hatred. "Have you forgotten how I treated you in the past?" Wang Ting glanced at her from the corner of his eyes and said indifferently. Cao Jiaojiao shuddered involuntarily. A chill ran deep inside her heart. As a human, you must understand your situation. If not, you will live a hard life. To hell with knowing her position. What was her position? A prisoner. Bastard. Cao Jiaojiao wanted to slap Wang Ting to death, but she still had lingering fears when she remembered his evil deeds. She had no choice but to admit defeat. She said weakly, "Wang Ting, please let me go. It's useless for you to keep me here. Why don't you let me go? My father will give you enough benefits." "Cao Hongtu? He has probably forgotten about you. He hasn't mentioned you ever since he came out of the Flaming River world." Wang Ting snorted when he saw that Cao Jiaojiao still had hope for Cao Hongtu. His words stabbed into her heart like a sharp blade. Impossible. Cao Jiaojiao's expression changed as she screamed. Although the past taught her otherwise, she was still unwilling to believe that Cao Hongtu had given up on her. "You can choose not to believe me. I don't need your trust." Wang Ting placed his hands behind his back. His demeanor suggested that he was talking about a casual matter. "How's this possible? I'm a Cosmos stage martial warrior of the Cao family. Not many people are better than me," Cao Jiaojiao muttered to herself. She refused to believe Wang Ting. "He can't even take care of himself now. How would he have the time to think about you?" Wang Ting sneered. "What do you mean? Guess." Wang Ting ignored her and walked away. He observed his space fragment. This was his first time studying this place after the expansion. Before this, he only had a brief gauge of its territory. "Master." The metal armor Flaming Scorpion and Little White were here. They welcomed him immediately when they saw him. "Cultivate properly. You don't have to care about me." Wang Ting waved his hands. The 2 spiritual pets carried on with their cultivation and didn't disturb Wang Ting. He flew up and sized up the space fragment from the top. He realized that this place was a little barren. There was nothing. It was just a huge space of nothing. "Looks like I need to find some soil and water." Wang Ting touched his chin and muttered to himself. Soil and water were the basic ingredient. Wang Ting was full of motivation. He returned to his room happily and bought some high-quality soil and water from the virtual universe. There were all sorts of shops selling spiritual water and spiritual soil in the virtual universe. The quality was different. The more expensive it was, the better the quality. Wang Ting picked the best spiritual soil and water and bought an ample amount to cover the entire space fragment. The other party was extremely polite and efficient when he saw that this was a big client. He delivered the items in half an hour. "I'm looking for Mr. Wang Ting." A fat pig human race young man delivered the goods to the residence. "Master bought them." Annie was surprised. "Please wait for a moment." The young man almost salivated when he saw Annie. However, he didn't dare to do anything outrageous. This was the residence of a noble. Hence, this butler figure wasn't someone a merchant like him could provoke. After some time, Annie appeared again. "Hand them to me. Master has confirmed the delivery." "Okay." The young man checked the virtual network and realized that the customer had indeed confirmed the delivery. Hence, he passed the goods to Annie and said, "I'll take my leave now." Annie went to Wang Ting's room and handed the goods to him. "Master, these are the things you bought." "All right, put them here." Wang Ting was studying some arrays. He replied without looking up. Annie didn't dare to interrupt him. She put down the items and turned to leave the room. She closed the door silently behind her. After some time, Wang Ting picked up the space ring on the table. He scanned the contents of the ring with his spiritual power and nodded in satisfaction. This was how convenient things were in the universe. One only needed to order things through the virtual universe, and he would get what he wanted immediately. Of course, you needed to have money first. Wang Teng had spent 38 billion UC on spiritual water and soil. It was quite expensive. Unfortunately, Wang Teng felt nothing. He believed that any money was worth it if he could start transforming his space fragment. He took the spiritual soil and water and went back into the space fragment. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1058, Modifying the Space Fragment, 2. With his thoughts, he moved Cow Jiao Jiao, Little White, the metal armor Flaming Scorpion, and other items placed in his space fragment into the air. Wang Ting was like a god in his space fragment. Everything could be moved with a single thought. What is he planning to do? Cow Jiao Jiao got confused when she saw Wang Ting coming in and out of the space fragment. He even threw them into the air. She didn't understand what he wanted to do. Wang Ting waved his hand. Boom! The ground vibrated, and huge trenches appeared. There were deep rumbles everywhere. Then, spiritual soil and water appeared in mid-air and scattered down onto the ground. Cow Jiao Jiao widened her eyes in awe as she stared at the scene. She was flabbergasted. Who was Wang Ting? Why did he have so many unbelievable methods and skills? This was similar to a universe-stage martial warrior creating his small world. However, Wang Ting was only at the planetary stage. How did he do it? Putting her aside, Wang Ting started modifying his space fragment. A large amount of spiritual soil and water sank into the ground, making the soil more fertile and giving it more vitality and energy. But this wasn't enough. Wang Ting took out the flora crystals and started making arrays. Vitality Congregation Array. This array was used to gather vitality. It could release the greatest potential of the flora crystals and was able to recycle the vitality of the plants so that they wouldn't wither too quickly. It was a complicated array that only grandmasters could lay down. Ordinary rune masters wouldn't be able to carve it. Wang Teng buried the flora crystals and used his spiritual power to carve runes on the hard ground. A large array slowly took shape. Boom! Strong vitality exploded. The entire array gave off a glaring emerald glow. It was impossible to open one's eyes. All right, I have earth and water. I need wind and fire. Wang Ting touched his chin and pondered. I need to make a wind array, but it can't be too powerful. My space fragment is a little weak. It can't endure too much destruction. In that case, I'll lay down a few small wind arrays in various zones. I'll let the floral fairies take care of them. I need a small sun too. Wang Teng remembered the fireball he saw in the Flaming River world. He could use a fireball as a substitute for the sun. However, this wasn't a simple fireball. It had to be formed based on the structure of a star and must possess the same function as a sun. This wasn't hard for Wang Ting. Among all the arrays he knew, there was a small star array that could mimic the structure of a star and create a small star using it. Wang Ting put his thoughts into action. He carved small wind arrays and a small star array in his space fragment. These two arrays weren't carved on the ground. Instead, they floated in the air. This was an extremely difficult job, but Wang Teng possessed space talent, so he had a strong grasp and understanding of space. This allowed him to carve runes in the air. Nevertheless, it still took him a lot of time to lay down these two arrays. He spent an entire night carving them. Wang Ting let out a long sigh after completing the arrays. He felt relieved when he saw his work as well as a sense of achievement. The space fragment had changed completely. It was full of vigor, and there was even a small fireball in the sky giving off heat. Occasionally, a breeze would blow past. This was like the real world, unlike the barren land some time ago. Let's stop for now, Wang Ting mumbled to himself and landed on the ground. Master, this place feels so comfortable. The metal armor flaming scorpion crawled over in astonishment. Caw, little white cord, agreeing with the metal armor flaming scorpion. Ha ha ha, you feel it too? Looks like my effort didn't go to waste. Wang Teng laughed happily. Some distance away, Cao Jiaojiao looked at him with a complicated expression. She had witnessed the entire process of Wang Ting modifying his space fragment. She felt that her understanding of the world had been overthrown. He succeeded. And the modification looked so good. This place was indeed comfortable. The entire process didn't seem difficult. Wang Ting only carved some runes, but she knew that this wasn't something an ordinary person could accomplish. Based on the complexity of the runes, she knew that a normal rune master would only be scratching his head. Was he a rune grandmaster? Impossible. How could he be a rune grandmaster? This wasn't right. Cao Jiaojiao didn't want to accept it. She fervently denied Wang Ting's abilities. The more outstanding he was, the more uneasy and frustrated she felt. Unfortunately, Wang Ting couldn't be bothered about her. She could think about whatever she wanted. He gave some orders to his spiritual pets and left the space fragment. In the real world, the sun had already risen. Wang Ting walked out of his room and stretched his back lazily. The barren residence was getting busy again. The servants were tidying up the place and beautifying it with flowers. Some were preparing breakfast and doing other work. It was a lively sight. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1059, Modifying the Space Fragment, 3, Master. Annie was always able to appear in front of Wang Ting at the right time. She came and went silently. He felt a little respect for her. Annie, before you appear next time, give me a warning. Wang Ting rolled his eyes. Yes, Master, Annie replied with respect. Where did you send the floral fairies to? Wang Ting asked. I asked them to stay in a room near the garden. The vitality there is thicker. They might not be able to withstand the other environments, Annie replied. All right, bring them over, Wang Ting nodded and said. Annie didn't ask him what he wanted to do. She turned and left, bringing the floral fairies back quickly. Master. The 10 young ladies from the floral fairy race stared at Wang Ting in fear like frightened rabbits. They bowed at him. Wang Ting felt like a devil king. He shook his head and said, I'll be bringing you somewhere. Don't be nervous. The floral fairies stared at him fearfully. They didn't relax because of his consolation. Instead, they got more nervous. Was their master planning to bring them somewhere and kill them? After all, he hadn't taken much notice of them after he bought them yesterday. They almost thought that they were abandoned because they were useless. Wang Ting looked at their expressions and knew that he couldn't explain himself clearly. Without speaking a word, he kept the 10 floral fairies in his space fragment. Annie's pupils constricted slightly. She was in awe. The 10 floral fairies had disappeared in the blink of an eye. She couldn't see through her master's skills. You can continue your work, Wang Ting told Annie to leave. Master, the banquet will be held tonight. What do you think? Annie asked. You are reading on our content copy site. Please copy and search this link com39 HPCN 6J to support us. It's good. You can arrange everything. Wang Ting disappeared. Annie shook her head. Her master didn't like to care about the residents. In the space fragment. The 10 young floral fairies shivered in fear when they first appeared in the space fragment. They were scared. They didn't know how they suddenly came to this place. There was only empty land around them along with 2 giant star beasts staring at them. Was their master going to feed them to the star beasts? No. It was said that floral fairies' meat was delicious, but they didn't want to get eaten. At this moment, Wang Ting reappeared in front of them. He saw the 10 floral fairies shrinking together into a ball, shivering in fear. Wang Ting asked, What are y'all doing? Master, don't feed us to the star beasts. We are not nice to eat. My mummy says our meat is not good. Sob, I want to go home. Mummy, I miss my mummy. The floral fairies started wailing with tears in their eyes. The scene turned a little chaotic. Wang Ting. He suddenly felt a little guilty for no reason. When did he ever say that he was going to feed them to the star beasts? Also, what did they mean by their meat was not good? They looked quite delicious. They looked quite cute. However, the floral fairies showed no signs of stopping. Wang Ting felt helpless. "Stop," he yelled. The young ladies went silent abruptly. They didn't dare to make any more sounds and stared at Wang Ting. Was he really going to eat them? Were scared. Wang Ting was helpless. Even Cao Hongtu wasn't this hard to deal with. He decided not to explain himself and took out the buds of various spiritual herbs and flowers. He passed them to the floral fairies. "You will be in charge of this land from now on. Put yourself to good use and grow these herbs. Also, this is the array core to control the small wind array and the small star array. Control the temperature and wind speed of this place accordingly. That's all for now. I'll come again if I have other orders for you. If you do well, I'll reward you. If not, I'll feed you to the star beasts." Then, he disappeared. The 10 young ladies stared at one another and then looked at the seeds and buds. Finally, they glanced at the spot where Wang Ting disappeared. Did they misunderstand him? If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1060, The Floral Fairy Race's Self-Motivation. In the space fragment, the 10 young ladies crowded together and discussed their new master. "Sister Catalpa, is Master asking us to plant flowers?" "Flower Angel loves to plant flowers." A floral fairy with 2 ponytails blinked her big and shiny bright eyes and asked another young floral fairy who was taller than the rest. Flower Angel was the youngest floral fairy. She was still pure and naive and a little clueless. As long as she wasn't going to be eaten, she would be happy planting flowers. "Yes, little Flower Angel, you have flowers to plant now." Catalpa gave a bitter smile. She rubbed Flower Angel's head. It was hard to tell the situation they were in. They got caught as slaves and were bought by a master who might have some weird fetish. Although their master didn't do anything to them and just asked them to help him plant spiritual herbs and flowers, Catalpa still remembered the words he said before he left. If they didn't do well, they would be fed to the star beasts. She turned and glanced at the 2 star beasts some distance away. To these 10 small and young floral fairies, Little White and the metal armor flaming scorpion were ferocious and hideous. Also, their auras were too powerful. Small floral fairies like them had no chance of resisting. Of course, she couldn't tell Flower Angel her concerns. Since she still had her innocence, there was no need to destroy it. Life was difficult. There was no need to expose some things. "Sister Catalpa, will the 2 star beasts eat us when they're hungry?" another floral fairy asked timidly. "Catalpa, why are you exposing the truth when I just tried to hide it? Are you doing this on purpose?" Catalpa felt speechless. She glanced at the floral fairy and gave a forced smile, consoling her. "Flower Iris, don't worry. Master wants us to help him plant these herbs. If we do well, the 2 star beasts won't dare to eat us." "Really?" Flower Iris' eyes lit up. She seemed to have found hope. "Of course." Catalpa nodded. "Mind you, planting herbs is our greatest skill. It won't be a problem." Yes. Flower Iris nodded. She suddenly felt confident. "Sister Catalpa, come and take a look. There are many precious herbs." A floral fairy squatted on the ground and looked through the buds and seeds Wang Ting left behind. She suddenly shouted. Catalpa's eyes shimmered. She squatted down and sized up the seeds. She recognized them immediately and blurted out their names as if she was counting some treasures. "This is the seed of the lavender fire flower, the condensed dew plant, the bone-restoring flower, the white lily fruit tree. Oh my God, these are all seeds and buds of precious spiritual herbs and flower," she exclaimed uncontrollably. These spiritual herbs were rare, and they normally wouldn't be able to see them. All of them were high-class spiritual herbs. The other floral fairies gasped in shock too. They were astounded. Do you all feel the strong vitality here? Another floral fairy closed her eyes and sensed her environment carefully. She gave off an extremely comfortable expression as she commented happily. The floral fairy race was very sensitive to vitality. After sensing it carefully, they had a clear grasp of their situation. Yes, yes. Flower Angel nodded her little head. Her ponytails jumped up and down, and she seemed exceptionally cute. If Wang Ting was here, he might have grabbed Flower Angel's face uncontrollably. The other floral fairies were elated too. They realized that the vitality here was thicker than in their original living location. This was undoubtedly the only piece of good news among all the bad news. The thicker the vitality, the more beneficial it was for them. They might have hope of reaching the planetary stage. Once they reached the planetary stage, their ability would increase tremendously. Their master might view them with more importance. That way, they wouldn't have to worry about getting eaten by star beasts. Everyone. Catalpa stood up and clapped her hands to attract all the fairies' attention. Let's work hard together and groom this place properly like our home. Let's show our master our usefulness. This is the only way to keep ourselves safe. Catalpa was the oldest floral fairy among them, and her status in the group was the highest too. Thus, the other floral fairies treated her with respect and trust. All of them responded in agreement. That's right, let's listen to Sister Catalpa. Let's work hard and show our master what we're capable of. Work hard. The floral fairies' morale went up. They almost started cheering for themselves. Catalpa distributed spiritual herbs with different elements to the floral fairies. They would each groom their herbs in a specific zone. Wang Teng didn't just carve the Vitality Congregation array in his space fragment. He also carved arrays of different elements. Some were suitable for ice element spiritual herbs, some were suitable for fire element herbs, some were suitable for metal element herbs. These arrays were carved in different zones. The floral fairies sensed which spot was suitable for their spiritual herbs and started planting the seeds and buds there. This wasn't enough. They used their special ability to guide the vitality around them so that the spiritual herbs could grow faster. Some herbs with a rapid growth rate were already starting to sprout. The usefulness of the floral fairy race was displayed entirely. They managed to organize the space fragment properly, making it a place full of vigor. Wang Teng didn't know that the floral fairies had finished motivating themselves and were already planting the spiritual herbs, waiting to give him a huge surprise. When he came out from the space fragment, he called Annie. Master. Annie greeted him politely. Send these invitations to the Secondary Career Alliance and pass them to the Grandmasters I listed, Wang Ting ordered as he passed the invitations to Annie. He said that he would invite the Grandmasters from the Secondary Career Alliance, but he almost forgot about it. If he didn't tell Annie, she might not know about it. Yes. Annie was shocked as she nodded in response. Her master was close to the Grandmasters from the Secondary Career Alliance. This was unexpected. She didn't know much about Wang Teng's network, so she thought that she just had to invite the nobles. After Annie left, Wang Teng contacted Hardy to learn about his progress. After receiving Wang Teng's order yesterday night, he set off right away and headed to Earth using the QYE-63 Universe spacecraft. He had left the territory of the Great Qian planet now. Wang Teng gave some orders and hung up. He waited patiently for the banquet tonight. Chapter 1061, Start of the Banquet, Arrival of the Guests. 1. A symphony of lights danced in the night sky. The Baron residence. The door was wide open, and guests were warmly welcomed by attendants. Rune energy flying cars landed from the night sky one after another, parking in the open space outside the residence. One by one, elegantly dressed nobles alighted from the cars and headed towards the Baron's residence. Annie led a group of maids and stood beside the door as they welcomed the guests from all walks of life. They were like a beautiful landscape that dazzled the eyes of spectators. These maids that Wang Ting had purchased were all superb beauties with good looks and temperament. They were also of different races and had their own characteristics. For the male compatriots, it was simply a visual feast. These nobles were just like most people. When they saw such beautiful scenery, they couldn't take their eyes away. However, they still had to be dignified and wouldn't keep their eyes on them. They looked away after taking a few glances, for fear of being mocked. Viscount Chen has arrived. The Wang family is here to congratulate you. Baron Li has arrived. Every time a guest arrived, someone would announce their status as a sign of respect. There were many people who heard the news and came to watch the show. When they heard the names, they were appalled and had looks of disbelief. The guests were not ordinary. They were either nobles or members of elite families. They didn't expect them to come and congratulate the new baron. Dear readers, you are reading on our content copy site. Please copy and search this link bit.ly 3 NSNQTR to support us. After a day of preparation, the entire residence looked luxurious and exquisite. The banquet was arranged in the backyard, which was spacious and had pleasant scenery. The entire layout was gorgeous. The floor was paved with golden carpets and surrounded by flowers. Lights were hung high, and the beautiful maids were weaving between the crowd, adding colors to the festivities. Before the guests were seated, there was singing and dancing. The musician that Annie had specially invited was putting on a show for everyone. There were dancers dancing gracefully on the stage in front. It was beautiful and captivating. When the nobles entered, they couldn't help but feel that Wang Ting was thoughtful. The banquet was grand and luxurious and must have cost a lot of effort and money. The nobles acknowledged that Wang Ting was better than them. If they were asked to arrange a banquet on such short notice, they wouldn't have been able to do it with such finesse. It was hard to imagine that he was from an underdeveloped planet. He was even more luxurious than them. When the nobles entered, the maids ushered them to their seats. Duke Sichu has arrived. Suddenly, there was a commotion. Even the nobles who were seated in the backyard stood up. This was a duke, not just an ordinary noble. He was also a strong and powerful universe-stage martial warrior. They didn't expect him to come personally. This Baron Wang Ting was really a big shot. Wang Ting also showed up to greet him and cupped his hands as the duke walked over. "I'm greatly honored by your gracious presence, Duke Sichu." "Ha ha ha, Baron Wang Ting, you're too polite. I'm just here to have a drink." Sichu Nan smiled. "If Duke Sichu wants a drink, I will present you with the best wine." Wang Ting smiled and gestured. "Please come in." Duke Sichu followed Wang Ting and walked toward the backyard. Behind him, there was a group of young people of different ages who looked at Wang Ting with curious eyes. They wanted to see what was so special about this Baron Wang Ting that he was greatly admired by their patriarch. Did he have 3 heads? Or 6 arms? Baron Wang Ting's deeds were being passed around like legends on the streets. It was said that when he was climbing the stairs, 3,000 runes lit up. His talent surpassed that prince. Was it true? A lot of people had come. Fortunately, Wang Ting took that into consideration and arranged the seats accordingly for each family. Every family had sufficient seats, and it was enough to accommodate the young people. "Oh, Wang has arrived. Duke Stuart has arrived." Just as when Wang Ting had arranged the seats for Duke Sichu's group, there was another announcement from outside the door. "Duke Sichu, please excuse me." Wang Ting had no choice but to leave. "Go on. You're the protagonist today. I shall not keep you for myself." Duke Sichu laughed. Wang Ting expressed his regret and went out to welcome the others. Duke Sichu turned and smiled. "How do you feel, Weina?" Behind him, a girl with a veil and a green dress moved her eyes. "Hes better than the descendants of ordinary elite families," Sichu Weina replied with a cold voice. Although she admired Wang Ting, her tone was unwavering and cold as ice. "Don't underestimate him. Hes not simple," Sichu Nan said meaningfully. "Weina shall wait and see," Sichu Weina said. "But I'm afraid this guy is also a womanizer." "Oh, why do you say that?" Sichu Nan asked in surprise. Wasn't his daughter focusing on the wrong things? There are beautiful maids all around. He just moved into the residence yesterday. These maids are probably slaves that were bought temporarily. To a baron, maids of this quality are not cheap, but he was willing to spend so much money. How could he not be a womanizer? Sichu Weina replied calmly. "Aha, what you said makes sense." Sichu Nan nodded but still defended Wang Ting. But he's a man. That's understandable. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1062, Start of the Banquet, Arrival of the Guests. 2. Sichu Wainer glanced at him sternly. Are you serious? Sichu Nan gave an embarrassed smile and shut his mouth. It didn't seem good to discuss this topic in front of his daughter. As time went by, more and more nobles arrived. Towards the end, a few dukes and earls came too. Of course, some of them sent their men in their place, not attending personally. These people either looked down on Wang Teng or were his enemies. Wang Teng didn't know how he offended them, but the relations between nobles were complicated. Many nobles brought their younger generation, so the number of guests got more and more. Everyone chatted with one another and talked about the major happenings in the universe or an up-and-coming talent. It was a lively sight. Young friends gathered together and conversed happily. Some were talking about current news while others were exchanging rumors. The Parker's family has arrived. Suddenly, a loud shout was heard. Everyone turned silent. The Parkers. Didn't they have a grudge with Wang Ting? Why were they here? Wang Ting squinted. A sharp gaze flashed in his eyes. A group of people walked in. The leader was a muscular elder with a fiery red beard. There was a red flame symbol on his forehead. His aura was overwhelming. Valteru and Sinclaman followed behind the elder obediently. The youngsters also came. Andre was among them. It was easy to tell that they didn't just come to congratulate Wang Ting. Gasp. That's the universe stage martial warrior of the Parker's family, right? Why is he here? Many people exclaimed in low voices when they saw the elder. This is just a baron's banquet. Why is that antique here? It looks like the banquet won't go smoothly. On the other side, Duke Sichu frowned slightly. Father, what does the Parker's family want? Sichu Wainer asked curiously using voice transmission. Who knows? But I don't think this is a good thing. PH, why is a Grand Duke targeting a baron? Don't they find it embarrassing? Do they think they can do anything in this city? Sichu Nan snorted. They're used to being above everyone, so it's normal they'll act like this, Sichu Wainer said calmly. The elder didn't speak. Instead, Valteru stepped out and said, Baron Wang Ting, we came to congratulate you. You will welcome us, right? There was contempt in their eyes. They seemed to be mocking this banquet. Of course. The famous Parker's family is willing to give me some face. Please have a seat, Wang Teng replied calmly. However, he didn't welcome them personally. He asked the servants to arrange their seats and treated them like ordinary guests. The faces of the Parker's family members turned black. The younger ones were indignant. Wang Ting was looking down on them. Sichu Wainer was stunned. She turned and looked at Sichu Nan, asking using voice transmission, has Baron Wang Ting always been so brave? Ha ha ha, good lad. Hes like me when I was young. Sichu Nan laughed loudly. Sichu Wainer rolled her eyes cheekily. The other nobles were surprised at this scene too. A strange emotion appeared in their eyes. They were shocked by Wang Ting's boldness. At the same time, they paid him a silent tribute. They felt that he was tempting fate. Wang Ting, how dare you humiliate the Parkers? Andre scolded him angrily. When did I ever do that? Wang Ting asked in confusion. He didn't understand what Andre was saying. Our Parker's family is a ducal family, but you didn't welcome us personally. Isn't this humiliating us? Andre said coldly. That's not right. I'm attending to this baron. If I have to throw all my guests away because of your arrival, I will be disrespecting them, Wang Teng replied calmly. Baron Wei Li's face turned black. He almost fainted. Why did you pull me in? Baron Wei Li glanced at Wang Teng bitterly. He wanted to say something, but he realized that no one was looking at him. He was an invisible person. He decided to remain quiet. You're quibbling. How can a baron be compared to the Parkers? Andre asked. Are you saying that if your Parker's family is here, I have to ignore all the other nobles and attend to you only? Wang Ting shot back. You. Andrei's expression changed entirely. Even Valteru and Sinclairman's expressions changed slightly. Their gazes flickered a little. What an evil little brat. He was trying to pull all the nobles to his side. The nobles around them knew that Wang Ting was making use of them, but their expressions still changed slightly. At this moment, someone laughed softly, and an old voice was heard, "Baron Wang Ting, I finally have the chance to meet you. You've surprised me." The person who spoke was the universe stage martial warrior of the Parkers family. "Thank you for your compliment." Wang Ting's gaze turned sharp when he saw the other party opening his mouth. He smiled and asked, "How do I address you?" "Others gave me the title of the Furious Flaming Universe Lord when I traveled the universe in the past," the muscular old man said in a composed manner. "It's the Furious Flaming Universe Lord." There was a commotion. The Furious Flaming Universe Lord had been famous for a long time and had gone into seclusion many years ago. He rarely made public appearances. If it wasn't for his name, no one would have recognized him. However, everyone was familiar with his name. Wang Ting glanced at everyone's expression and knew that the Furious Flaming Universe Lord wasn't an easy character. His heart sank, but he remained expressionless. He pretended to be enlightened and said, "So you're the Furious Flaming Universe Lord. I've long heard about you. What a huge pleasure to meet you." Everyone. The atmosphere was tense and serious, but for some reason, it started thawing under Wang Ting's exaggerated reaction. The Furious Flaming Universe Lord raised his eyebrows and said in a meaningful tone, "Young people should be full of life, but you can't be too active either. If you jump around too much, you might die one day unknowingly." "You're right." Wang Ting nodded in a humble manner. The Furious Flaming Universe Lord's expression softened a little. This young lad was still scared of him. Just when everyone thought that Wang Ting was admitting defeat, they heard this voice again. "Andre, did you all hear what he said? Your elder is educating you. Don't forget his words." Fart. Everyone almost spat out their water. His actions caught them off guard. Where did Wang Ting get the guts to say this? The Furious Flaming Universe Lord was educating him, but he pretended that he was educating the younger generation of the Parkers. Moreover, they couldn't deny it. The youngsters looked exasperated. They felt as if they were strangled by their throat. It was suffocating. Valteru and Sinclairman felt the corners of their lips twitching. They didn't know how to express their confused emotions. The Furious Flaming Universe Lord was stunned for a moment. He cursed multiple times in his heart and finally understood why Valteru and the others gave that expression when they talked about this brat. This was an irritating brat. "Universe Lord, why don't you have a seat first? No one dares to come in if you'll keep blocking the entrance," Wang Ting said. The Furious Flaming Universe Lord had never been this frustrated. Yet, Wang Ting did it. He snorted and sat down at an empty table with the rest of the family. "If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters." Chapter 1063, The Grandmasters of the Secondary Career Alliance are here to congratulate Baron Wang Ting. After the Parkers family sat down, the atmosphere of the banquet relaxed a little. However, everyone knew that this was just the start. The Parkers didn't have good intentions. No one knew if they would suddenly target Wang Ting after the banquet started. They knew that they were capable of this. The nobles wouldn't interfere in the business between the Parkers family and Wang Ting. They were already giving him face by attending the banquet. They wouldn't care about the result. Many of the people at the banquet were filled with interest. They wanted to see how Baron Wang Ting would deal with this situation and how this banquet would end. Many people didn't have high hopes for Wang Ting. He might have talked back to the Parkers, but those were just words, it wouldn't affect anything. Besides, he had further angered the Furious Flaming Universe Lord from the Parkers. At this moment, the Parkers family was treating this place like their own home. They sat there and ate their food happily. The youngsters even laughed and chatted loudly. They occasionally smirked at Wang Ting. None of them treated him with respect. Everyone felt that the Parker's family had gone overboard. They started to sympathize with Wang Ting. However, Wang Ting didn't reveal any expression. He didn't even look at them and continued to welcome his guests calmly. Time slowly passed in this atmosphere. It was getting closer to the start of the banquet. Everyone felt that no more important characters would come. Baron Wang Ting, the Parker's family, is the most important guest today. However, you don't seem to know it. Andre sniggered. That's right, we're giving you face by coming. The other Grand Dukes won't come, another young man from the Parker's family shouted in agreement. Start the banquet quickly. We're getting hungry, another person shouted. The Parker's family is getting out of hand, Sichu Weiner said. They don't care about their reputation anymore. Sichu Nan snorted. He wanted to speak up. Suddenly, shouts were heard. It wasn't just a single shout. It was a whole list of names. Dear readers, you are reading on our content copy site. Please copy and search this link https://tinyurl.com39HPCN6J to support us. Grandmaster Hua Yuan from the Secondary Career Alliance has come to congratulate Baron Wang Ting. Grandmaster Harrell from the Secondary Career Alliance has come to congratulate Baron Wang Ting. Grandmaster Curtin from the Secondary Career Alliance has come to congratulate Baron Wang Ting. Grandmaster Moda from the Secondary Career Alliance has come to congratulate Baron Wang Ting. Grandmaster Alfred from the Secondary Career Alliance has come to congratulate Wang Ting. The arrival of the Grandmasters from the Secondary Career Alliance astounded the nobles. They were all in a state of confusion. What was this? Why were there so many Grandmasters here? There were more than 10 of them. This was frightening. No one understood what was happening. They were in awe as they stared absent-mindedly at the entrance. Even the members of the Parker's family were appalled. If only 1 or 2 Grandmasters came, they wouldn't care. However, there were too many of them. When did Wang Ting possess such influence? How did he manage to invite so many Grandmasters? Wang Ting smiled when he saw their expressions. He stood up with a mysterious aura and went to welcome the Grandmasters. When the Grandmasters walked in, Grandmaster Alfred, who was at the front, smiled and said, "Mr. Wang Ting, are we too late?" With so many people present, he didn't call him Grandmaster Wang Ting. The other Grandmasters came to congratulate and greet him too. "You came just in time." Wang Ting smiled. However, someone was getting impatient and was urging me to start the banquet. If you had come slightly later, you might have been too late. Everyone's gaze turned weird when they heard this. They turned to look at the Parker's family. The Parker's family, urging him to start the banquet. He made them sound like hungry ghosts. The Parkers were furious. They felt so frustrated that they wanted to vomit blood. This bastard was brutal. He was disgusting. They glared at the young man who had shouted at Wang Ting just now. He was an idiot. If he hadn't run off his mouth, the Parkers wouldn't be so embarrassed. Sichu Nan almost wanted to slap his thigh and laugh, but the situation didn't allow him to. What a pity. Even the cold and distant Sichu Weiner couldn't control her smile. Fortunately, she was wearing a veil that hid her expression. Only her slightly curled eyes could be seen. Grandmaster Alfred and the others noticed the awkward atmosphere too. Their gazes landed on the limelight in the room, the Parkers. Anyone could tell that Wang Ting was referring to them. However, Wang Ting didn't dwell on the issue. Irritating them once was enough. He welcomed the Grandmasters and led them to their seats. "Have a seat, please." "What's going on? Why did all these Grandmasters come?" The furious Flaming Universe Lord frowned and asked Valteru and the others using voice transmission. "I don't know either." Valteru was dumbfounded. Did they become friends because Wang Ting sold the lightning essence insect to the Secondary Career Alliance? Sinclaman pondered. Forming a friendship because he sold them a lightning essence insect. "I didn't know that Grandmasters were so easy to befriend," the furious Flaming Universe Lord replied angrily. Sinclaman didn't know what to say. They weren't the only ones in confusion. The other nobles were puzzled too. They didn't know when Wang Ting made friends with these Grandmasters. They started discussing in low voices, trying to guess their relationship. At the same time, they started to view Wang Ting's network in a new light. After some time, more announcements were heard. All of them were Grand Dukes. The Jiang family has arrived. The Ji family has arrived. The Cavendish family has arrived. Everyone was flabbergasted. Besides the Parkers family, more Grand Dukes were attending the event. There were even 3 of them. There was a good show to watch now. With these 3 dukes, would the Parkers family still make things difficult for Wang Teng? The Parkers family was staggered too. They glanced at one another grimly. They could still accept the arrival of the various grandmasters, but they didn't understand why these 3 Grand Duke families came. Wang Ting's talent was just a little higher. Why did all of them come? Even 3 other Grand Dukes were here. The furious flaming universe lord glared at Wang Ting without any expression on his face. No one knew what he was thinking. However, when he saw the 3 families walking in, he squinted. He seemed to have seen someone unexpected. The arrival of the 3 Grand Dukes livened up the atmosphere of the banquet. It was finally time for it to start. Chapter 1064. During the banquet. 1. The atmosphere of the banquet was amazing. Everyone felt less stressed in the presence of 3 Grand Dukes. If there was only 1 Grand Duke, they would be worried and fearful. However, the arrival of the 3 Grand Dukes meant that the pressure was shifted to them. Of course, to the Grand Duke families, there wasn't much pressure. The power of their families was all similar. However, this appeared like a scene of bloody slaughter. Everyone could sense the tension between the various Grand Duke families. But when they saw Wang Ting, the host, appearing all calm and composed, they felt respect and admiration towards him. This fellow had a strong mentality. Sichu Weiner and Sichu Nan looked over. Their gazes were filled with surprise. Why are the 3 Grand Dukes here? Sichu Weiner asked using voice transmission. I don't know. Sichu Nan shook his head. He replied using voice transmission, I have never heard of any relationship between the 3 Grand Dukes and Baron Wang Teng. However, the 3 Grand Dukes seemed to have high hopes for him. After all, he broke the record of that prince when he climbed the stairs. Many people are still waiting to see his progress. Wang Teng might have broken the record, but not many people think that he can surpass the prince. It will be amazing if he manages to achieve half of the prince's achievements, Sichu Weiner replied. Let's wait and see. The 3 Grand Dukes are here. They will definitely do something, Sichu Nan said calmly. At the same time, many others were chatting among themselves. They were also talking about the Grand Dukes. Look, a universe stage martial warrior from the Ji family came. Is it that elder? He looks familiar. I wonder who he is. He's probably an ancestor of the Ji family. The people who came from the Jiang family have high statuses too. It's the heaven stage martial warrior, Jiang Hanfeng. Jiang Hanfeng is very powerful. He has a good chance of inheriting the Grand Duke title. He came to congratulate Wang Ting. Oh my god. That seems to be the heaven stage martial warrior, Baller, and his son, Di. They are the direct descendants of the Cavendish family. Baller has high hopes of inheriting the Cavendish family's Grand Duke title. Di is a great talent of the Cavendish family. Both his talent and ability are powerful. He can be ranked among the top 30 in the Empire's talent ranking. He seems close to Wang Teng. Do they know each other? That will make sense. Have you forgotten about the report sent to the chamber? Baron Wang Teng came back with Di from the number 4 defense planet. Oh right, there was a line mentioning this in the report. I didn't look at it carefully. I'm afraid the Cavendish family kept it brief on purpose. That's why many of us ignored this important piece of information. On the other side, the furious flaming universe lord frowned. He muttered to himself, why is that old fellow here? Didn't they say that he's seriously injured? He looks fine to me. His gaze landed on the universe stage elder of the Ji family. He knew this old man. The universe stage elder from the Ji family sensed his gaze and turned to look at him. He didn't show any intention of greeting him and shifted his eyes away. At this moment, Wang Ting stood up and scanned his surroundings. Everyone became quiet. "Thank you for coming to my banquet. I'm extremely honored." Wang Ting smiled and raised the wine glass in his hand. "Let me offer a toast to everyone." He raised his head and gulped the wine down. "Ha ha ha, you're too polite." "That's right. Why are you so polite? All of us are citizens of the great Qian Empire. Let's take care of each other in the future." Baron Wang Ting must be extraordinary to be able to achieve such merits at a young age. "We should be the ones offering a toast." The guest replied enthusiastically. All of them were polite and raised their cups to return the toast. The young people present felt envious. Baron Wang Ting was their peer, but he was already standing in the limelight. All the nobles gave him face and treated him politely. They regarded him as someone at their own level. To these youngsters, Wang Ting was their role model. Annie was ordering the servants around to serve the guests. When she saw this scene, she had a deeper understanding of her master. They had recently been bought by Wang Ting, so they didn't understand what kind of person he was, what background he had, and what status he was at. Hence, the scene now undoubtedly gave them a huge stimulation. Many nobles came just to congratulate their master. There were earls, dukes, and even grand dukes among the guests. In the past, they never thought that they could meet these people, but they were now floating in front of their eyes. If it wasn't for the loud noises around them, they would think that they were dreaming. This terrifying influence proved that their master wasn't an ordinary baron. The thought appeared in the minds of Annie and the other servants in unplanned unison. Bertha led the celestial stage guards and stood outside the baron residence. They also saw the lively image of the banquet and were still in a state of daze. Chapter 1065. During the banquet. 2. Bertha had confidence in her own strength initially. She was a cosmos stage divine spirit master, so she looked down on planetary stage martial warriors like Wang Ting. Even if she was a slave and had to submit to him, she wasn't convinced. However, when she saw the banquet, she finally understood that a cosmos stage divine spirit master was nothing compared to her master. There were too many powerful warriors present today. There were not only heaven stage martial warriors but universe stage martial warriors as well. A cosmos stage divine spirit master like her wasn't important. She wasn't qualified to look down on Wang Ting. "It's almost time. Let's begin." Wang Ting laughed. "I have prepared a feast today. I hope it's good enough for everyone." As soon as he finished speaking, the servants streamed in and brought in the food and wine that had been prepared beforehand. Wang Ting had also spent a lot of money on these things. They were of the highest quality. The nobles were taken aback when they saw the dishes and started tasting the food. This taste. It's probably from a force chef grandmaster. And this fine wine. It's probably been aged for centuries. How rare. These fruits are also delicacies. Some are even rare. You might not even be able to buy them even if you have the money. Like this fire heart fruit from the lava swamps, it takes 3 years for them to bear fruit and it's extremely rare. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to buy it. And this cleansing spirit fruit, white jade grape. Good things, good things. Baron Wang Ting is so generous. He prepared so many good things. We can enjoy ourselves today. Exclamations came one after another. The nobles had seen their fair share of the world. However, they were still surprised. They could see that Wang Ting had prepared something special. Everyone ate happily. After all, many of the delicacies were things that they wouldn't be able to enjoy daily. Today was indeed a feast for them. The nobles were also astonished by the surrounding servants and guards. Every servant was a charming beauty without any exceptions. And the guards were all at least celestial stage martial warriors. Just standing there gave others a sense of deterrence. For a powerful martial warrior, this was nothing. However, this was just a baron's residence, and Wang Ting had only taken over the residence recently. Where did he get all these from? This was too extravagant. The Parker's family and the others were not pleased. Wang Ting's banquet was lively and everyone was full of praise. They didn't even have the opportunity to mock him. If they were still nitpicking in such a situation, they would be the ones embarrassing themselves. Wang Ting got up to make a toast, especially to the dukes and the elite families. Since they came here personally, he had to show some respect. Otherwise, he would be considered rude. He first came over to the Cavendish family. Sir Baller, brother Di, thank you for attending. There's no need to be polite, Di said casually and clinked their glasses. Why are you calling me sir? Since you called Di your brother, you can just address me as uncle. Baller waved his hand and smiled. I guess I'll have to listen to you, Wang Teng replied. Uncle Baller, you're really a surprising fellow. You actually drove Cao Hongtu out. Di finished his wine and looked at Wang Ting in surprise as if he was meeting him for the first time. I was just lucky. Wang Teng smiled. I don't think it was just luck. I heard about it. You pissed Cao Hongtu and Sinclairman off in the Flaming River world. Even 2 Heaven Stage martial warriors couldn't handle you. Di glanced at the Parkers and said in a low voice. I was lucky to be able to get a Heaven Stage martial warrior's help. Wang Ting squinted his eyes and gave An Lan the credit. I know that too. Where's that Mecha Heaven Stage martial warrior who helped you? Baller asked. He's not here as he doesn't like crowded places. Wang Teng replied. Introduce me to him when you have the time. I'm very interested in this Mecha Heaven Stage martial warrior, Baller said with great interest. Uncle, you are an elder, but you can't snatch him away from me. Wang Ting cried bitterly. Oh, so you want to recruit him? Baller asked in surprise. I need a powerful person like him to deter others. Otherwise, there will be a lot of trouble. Wang Ting snickered. You are amazing. You can even recruit a Heaven Stage martial warrior. Looks like that mecha also intends to stay by your side. Baller's eyes flashed. It's luck. It's all luck. Wang Ting laughed. Di was startled. It hadn't been long since he last met him, but Wang Ting was already able to recruit a Heaven Stage martial warrior. When he first came to the Great Chen planet, he had no influence or background. He was akin to a small fish that had plunged into the ocean from a small stream. He would have been swallowed up whole by anyone. But now, Wang Ting had not only defeated Cao Hongtu to obtain the Baron's title, but he had also gathered a force around him. It was really unexpected. Wang Ting chatted for a while before heading over to the Ji family. He was astonished that a Universe Stage martial warrior from the Ji family had come. Although the elder was very restrained, Wang Teng could tell that he was powerful. He was definitely not a Heaven Stage martial warrior. After he heard what everyone had said, he managed to obtain his identity. As soon as Wang Teng came over, Ji Yuanqing smiled. Mr. Wang Ting, are you surprised? It's a bit of a surprise. I didn't expect you all to come. Wang Teng smiled. This old man came uninvited. I hope you don't mind. An elder by the side chuckled. Don't say that. It's my honor for you to come to my humble abode. Ha ha ha. The elder laughed. I have to thank you for what happened previously. Otherwise, this old man wouldn't be alive. I owe you one. The last sentence was said through voice transmission. It was clear he didn't want to say it out loud on an occasion like this. He wouldn't want others to know about it. You're too polite. It was nothing much. Wang Teng responded using voice transmission as well. He was elated. Back when Ji Yuanqing bought the 9 Essence Soul congealing pill, he mentioned that the Ji family owed him a favor. Now, he had a Universe Stage martial warrior's guarantee. This favor was set in stone. In fact, he wasn't expecting much help from the Ji family. It was already impressive that a Universe Stage martial warrior owed him a favor. He then went over to where the Jiang family was seated. He gave a toast politely as well and chatted with them. Baron Wang Ting, these are my son and daughter, Jiang Weixing and Jiang Chenxi. You youngsters can mingle with each other when you have the time. Jiang Hanfeng pointed at the 2 young people behind and said. Wang Ting looked behind Jiang Hanfeng and saw 2 outstanding youngsters. The man was handsome and charming, and there was a sense of pride in his eyes. He nodded at Wang Teng. It was considered a greeting. The woman was beautiful, had glistening skin, and was elegant. Her long skirt wrapped around her exquisite body, which was particularly eye-catching. No matter where they were, this pair would definitely be the cream of the crop. They would be the focus of everyone's attention. Wang Ting was secretly taken aback. No wonder they were nobles. Their auras were incomparable. Of course there was a difference between Wang Ting and them. His aura was too special, and his experiences could not be compared to theirs. Besides his handsome face, his eyes were as deep as the stars. They pulled people toward him. That was why Jiang Weisheng wasn't pleased. He felt that Wang Ting was more prideful than him. Although Jiang Chenxi didn't show it, she was already a little interested in Wang Ting. After all, one's looks helped a lot. Please take care of me in the future, Wang Ting responded with a smile. I'm not worthy. Baron Wang Ting broke the record left by the prince. I'm inferior to you, Jiang Weisheng said calmly. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1066, Threat. 1. Wang Ting felt the sarcasm in Jiang Weisheng's tone. His expression suddenly turned strange. Why did he smell vinegar in the air? Was Jiang Weisheng jealous of him? Brother Weisheng, you're thinking too highly of me. I was just lucky. I don't know how the stairs managed to break their own record when I was climbing. I feel burdened that everyone knows this too, Wang Ting said sadly. Jiang Weisheng's expression froze. Listen, is this what you should be saying? Didn't know how the record was broken? If you climbed an ordinary stone staircase, can you break the record? This fellow was definitely boasting. Jiang Hanfeng and Jiang Chenxi were caught between laughter and tears. They felt that Wang Ting was a little shameless. He didn't even blush when he said this. Baron Wang Ting is a rare talent, Jiang Chenxi said. I'm just joking. Please don't take it for real, Wang Ting replied with a smile. Jiang Hanfeng and the others laughed. Wang Ting didn't stay too long with the Jiang family. He had many other guests to attend to. He went around and interacted with everyone he should. It was a good thing that martial warriors had good alcohol tolerance. If not, he would be drunk after attending to all the guests. Besides the nobles, the grandmasters from the Secondary Career Alliance were important guests too. They came together to congratulate him. Wang Ting accepted their favor. After offering toasts to everyone, Wang Ting returned to his seat. However, someone was unhappy. The Parkers were indignant. This was too much. Wang Ting didn't bother about them at all. He offered a toast to everyone but them. This was too much. The young people wanted to create a scene, but they were stopped. The furious flaming universe lord glanced at Valteru, who stood up and said, Baron Wang Ting. Everyone was stunned. They shifted their gaze over with one thought in their mind. It's here. They didn't know what Valteru wanted to do, but everyone knew the Parkers didn't have good intentions. If the exchange of words with Wang Ting was an appetizer, the main dish was about to be served. The other three Grand Duke families looked over too. They didn't make any moves. They wanted to see what the Parkers wanted to do first. May I know what you want? Wang Ting squinted and asked calmly. I heard that you gained a divine flame in Flaming River World. Valteru said. Divine flame? Everyone was flabbergasted. They looked in Wang Ting's direction. Baron Wang Ting had a divine flame, and he got it from Flaming River World. They knew about Flaming River World. Wang Ting had passed the Noble Family Consultation Chamber's trial there to get the Baron title. This meant that the Baron title wasn't the only thing Wang Ting won from Flaming River World's trial. A divine flame. This was a rare opportunity. Even the nobles present couldn't help but envy him. The three Grand Duke families also turned and looked at Wang Ting with surprise and astonishment. The Grandmasters from the Secondary Career Alliance had the same reaction. They were flabbergasted and couldn't hide their amazement. I remember that Grandmaster Wang Ting already has a divine flame, right? Grandmaster Harrell swallowed her saliva and asked through voice transmission after some hesitation. He has two now. Grandmaster Alfred rubbed his forehead and said enviously. He gained another divine flame. Grandmaster Hua Yuan was jealous too. He hit his chest, wishing he could snatch it from Wang Ting. Cough, Calm down. We must keep our conscience. We mustn't get blinded by the divine flame, Grandmaster Alfred hurriedly reminded them through voice transmission. I know. I'm just envious. Grandmaster Hua Yuan gave a bitter smile. The other Grandmasters felt the same way. To them, the attractiveness of a divine flame was the same as a rare and precious treasure. Don't even think about it. Anyone who managed to get a divine flame is someone with great affinity. Think about those people who tried to subdue divine flames in the past. Those without the ability to do so got devoured instead. Not even their bones were left. Grandmaster Moda scoffed. The Grandmasters shuddered in fear. Divine flames were rare and subduing them was even harder. One could forget about it if one didn't have the ability. At this moment, everyone finally understood the Parkers' motive. No one cared about divine flames more than them. With their special physique, they would be able to release greater power if they had a divine flame. Everyone started looking at Wang Teng differently. Their eyes were no longer filled with envy. Instead, they were sympathizing with him. He might not be able to keep his divine flame since the Parkers had laid their eyes on it. Situ Weiner frowned and said using voice transmission, the divine flame. Looks like Baron Wang Ting is in trouble. Indeed. Situ Nan nodded in agreement. No one could stop the Parkers from hunting for divine flames. They would go crazy for it. The three Grand Dukes and the Grandmasters from the Secondary Career Alliance frowned. They understood how troublesome this issue was. At this moment, a snort came from Wang Teng's mouth. Everyone was staggered. How could he laugh in this situation? If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1067, Threat. 2. Valteru frowned. He felt that Wang Teng was mocking him. This made him exceptionally angry. Why are you laughing? How do you know that I gained a divine flame from Flaming River World? Wang Teng didn't reply to him. Instead, he asked him a question. I saw it. Sinclaman got up with a cold smile. He felt that Wang Ting's struggle was desperate but useless. That's what you say. I highly suspect that you're framing me because you don't like me. Actually, I didn't get it. It ran away in the end. Do you believe me? Wang Teng replied innocently. Everyone was speechless. They felt that Wang Ting was humiliating their intelligence. Who would believe this insincere excuse? Situ Weiner and Situ Nan were at a loss for words. They glanced at each other and saw helplessness in each other's eyes. Bullshit, you subdued that divine flame. Do you think him stupid and can't tell that you've subdued it? Sinclaman raged. He felt that he was being looked down upon. It can't be helped then. I didn't think that the Parkers family is filled with stupid people, Wang Ting said in a helpless tone. Everyone. You. Sinclaman's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. Flames of anger were shooting out of his eyes. Baron Wang Ting, you don't just have one divine flame. Besides the divine flame you took from Flaming River World, you have another one with you, right? Valteru stopped Sinclaman and said. What? 2 divine flames? Everyone was flabbergasted. They were filled with disbelief. Baron Wang Ting had 2 divine flames. The crowd found this unreal. Getting 1 divine flame was a miracle. Yet, Wang Ting had 2. Dear readers, you are reading on our content stealing site. Please copy and search this link Tinyal. Com39 HPCN 6J to support us. How lucky was he? Was he the son of heaven? This is bad. The Parkers have an ulterior motive. They leaked the news that Grandmaster Wang Ting has 2 divine flames. Grandmaster Hua Yuan's expression changed as he spoke to the other Grandmasters through voice transmission. How evil of them. It won't be a problem if he had 1 divine flame, but the temptation of a person with 2 divine flames is too big. They are pushing him to hell, Grandmaster Alfred replied angrily. So this is the Parkers family, one of the right dukes. Grandmaster Moda was furious. This is bad. The Parkers family is openly targeting Wang Teng. Situ Weina sighed in her heart. She felt bad for Wang Ting. Sigh. Situ Nan shook his head. A sharp glint flashed past Wang Ting's eyes as a powerful killing intent swarmed into his heart. He forced himself to suppress his emotions and didn't reveal anything on his face. Smiling, he said, "Sigh, I was just lucky. Honestly, as one of the 8 dukes, don't tell me that you don't even have one divine flame. Your family is quite poor if that's true." "Oh right, do you want to snatch them?" The members of the Parker's family turned green in the face. They didn't know how to reply. Everyone was stunned. This was unbelievable. Wang Ting dared to tease the Parker's family. Was he looking for death? But if the Parker's family admitted it, they would be throwing all their reputation away. What would they choose to do? "You're a Grand Duke family. You won't be this shameless, right?" Wang Ting continued. "You." Valtter's face turned green and white. He didn't know what to say. The furious flaming universe lord's patience had long run dry. He looked at Wang Ting and said, "Baron Wang Ting, you should know how important divine flames are to us. You have 2 divine flames. Why don't you give us one?" The real intention was revealed at the end. The furious flaming universe lord finally revealed his plan. The Parker's family was showing their claws. As for reputation, they didn't care. Only weaklings would care about their reputation. The Parkers were powerful enough to ignore it. The atmosphere tensed up instantly. The less powerful nobles didn't dare to breathe loudly. They felt sad for Wang Ting. Even some nobles with higher status, the Grand Dukes, and the Grandmasters from the Secondary Career Alliance turned grim. The situation took a serious turn. Wang Ting looked into the furious flaming universe lord's eyes without back down. His expression remained calm. Many people started to respect him. He remained indifferent even when an avalanche hit him. Not everyone had such a strong mentality. The next instant, Wang Ting laughed. His voice was filled with disdain. "Why should I give you one divine flame? Just because you're the Parkers? The Parkers family will give you a satisfactory price." The furious flaming universe lord raised his eyebrows and replied calmly. "A price I'm satisfied with?" Wang Ting touched his chin and pondered for some time. "Well, that's a good deal. Do you agree?" Valtteru was elated. The other members of the Parkers were elated too. At the same time, they sneered in their hearts. Wang Ting was stupid. Did he think that they would really pay him? "Give me half of the Parkers family's assets," Wang Ting replied indifferently. Silence. The faces of the Parkers family froze. The other people were flabbergasted too. Baron Wang Ting was indeed daring. He asked for half of the Parkers family's assets. Did he know how much was that? No one knew if he was overestimating himself or if was he too naive. The Parkers would never agree. But soon, they reacted and realized that Wang Ting had no intention of relenting to them. That was why he gave such an impossible request. "Baron Wang Ting, this is too much," the furious flaming universe lord said expressionlessly. "Really? Didn't you say that you will give me a satisfactory price? You should know how precious the divine flame is. Half of your family's assets isn't too much, right?" Wang Ting sneered. "You're dreaming," Valtteru replied coldly. "You are the ones who are dreaming." Wang Ting mocked them with a smirk. "If you can't afford it, just say it. You're the ones begging me, not the other way round. Idiots. Who are you calling an idiot?" Valtteru erupted in anger. He couldn't control his emotions anymore. Wang Ting was infuriating. He dared to call him an idiot. He was the inheritor of the Parkers family's title. No one had ever disrespected him like this. "The one who's asking the question," Wang Ting replied. "Pant." Valtteru panted heavily like an angered lion. He wanted to pounce on Wang Ting and bite him. Everyone was shocked. He was so fierce. Baron Wang Ting dared to refute the entire Parkers family head-on. They would never dare to do this. Terrifying. "Enough," the furious flaming universe lord shouted. He glared at Wang Ting and said, "Think about it carefully. You won't be able to protect the divine flame even if you keep it with you. Someone will snatch it from you and you might even lose your life because of it one day. Everyone turned silent. The Parker's family was threatening Wang Ting openly. Some people felt that this was too much, but they didn't dare to speak up because of the power of the Parkers. At this moment, an earl stood up. "That's right, Baron Wang Ting, I think you should hand over the divine flame and trade with the Parkers family. It's better than letting someone snatch it from you in the future." Everyone was stunned. They looked at the earl in bewilderment. No one expected him to speak up for the Parkers. "Baron Wang Ting, a treasure is good, but an innocent man will get into trouble because of his wealth." The Duke from the Seattle family opened his mouth too. Even a duke stood up. It didn't stop there. A few more nobles pressured him into giving away the divine flame. They were obviously supporting the Parkers. No one spoke up for Wang Ting because they couldn't afford to offend the Parkers. Wang Ting was discriminated against. Everyone took pity on him. His situation was miserable. Ha ha ha. Suddenly, Wang Ting laughed. Everyone was appalled. Did he go crazy because of anger? The furious flaming universe lord frowned. Why was Wang Ting laughing? Did he think he could still turn the tides in this situation? "You think you can force me?" Wang Ting turned and said to him calmly. "If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters." Chapter 1068, The sword is out of its sheath. Silence. The entire place turned quiet. It was sudden and out of the blue. The Parkers had forced Wang Ting to the cliff, and many other nobles sided with them. One could imagine the pressure on his shoulder. Any other smaller nobles wouldn't be able to handle it. A divine flame wasn't as important as their lives. However, Wang Ting was still able to laugh and refute the Parkers calmly. "One sentence, 'you think you can force me,' was enough to block all the threats." He was extremely courageous. Everyone admired his courage and guts. However, they were also curious as to where he got his confidence from. The Parkers looked at Wang Ting mockingly as if he was a clown. No matter how desperately he struggled, he wouldn't be able to escape from their grasp. The furious flaming universe lord remained indifferent. He didn't think that Wang Ting had any chance of escaping from his clutches. "This is for your own good. Young man, you must learn to give and take." "Bullshit." Wang Ting cursed nonchalantly. The furious flaming universe lord's expression froze. He was a universe-stage martial warrior from the Parkers family. With his high status, no one dared to curse him. Yet this young man did it. When Wang Ting cursed Valteru, he found him bold. From the looks of it now, he wasn't just bold. He was audacious to the extreme. A fit of uncontrollable anger surged from the bottom of his heart. His expression turned icy, and his gaze became sharp. "I'm giving you a chance. If you don't appreciate it, so what if I don't appreciate it? Mph, you should know the consequences." The furious flaming universe lord snorted. He glared at Wang Ting as if he was a nobody. "I don't know the consequences, but I do know you won't get what you want." Wang Ting's gaze was fearless. His voice remained extremely calm as he turned to look at the Grandmasters from the Secondary Career Alliance. He emphasized each word. "Can I seek the protection of the Secondary Career Alliance as a triple field Grandmaster?" An uproar occurred instantly. "Triple field, Grandmaster? What does that mean? I recognize the words separately, but I don't understand them when they're combined." "You're not the only one. I don't understand either. Baron Wang Ting is a triple field Grandmaster of the Secondary Career Alliance." "Are you kidding? I think I heard something incredible. This is unbelievable. Pinch me and tell me if I'm dreaming." "Go away. You can pinch yourself." There was a huge commotion. Wang Ting's words were like throwing a bomb into the sea, setting off towering waves. No one could maintain their composure. What kind of concept was this? Most of the people here weren't in this field, but they understood what a triple field Grandmaster represented. But Wang Ting was so young. How could he make such an achievement? Disbelief was the first reaction everyone had when they heard this piece of news. "No way." Situ Weina widened her eyes in shock. Her distant and cold aura was gone. She felt a little queasy. Even Duke Sichu was thunderstruck. He looked as if he had seen a ghost. The Jiang family members glanced at one another, not knowing how to express their current emotions. They found it hard to believe too. Especially Jiang Chenxi and Jiang Weisheng. They just spoke to Wang Ting at a close distance some time ago, but they couldn't tell that he was someone with such great achievement. This piece of news was entirely unexpected. The Ji family knew Wang Ting's identity beforehand, so they just wore ambiguous smiles on their faces. Then, they shook their heads and smiled. If the Parker's family hadn't forced Wang Ting into such a tight corner, he might have continued to conceal his identity. Well, this was good too. An outstanding person would shine one day. If one wanted to have a position in the universe, he mustn't hide his glamour. It wasn't a good thing. Letting the sword out of the sheath was better than hiding the sharp blade. The nobles who stood up for the Parker's family felt awkward. They had an absurd feeling that the situation was spiraling out of control. A small baron had the ability to resist a powerful faction like the Parker's family. It was unimaginable. They supported the Parkers because they were ordered by them or they wanted to do them a favor. But if Wang Ting was a triple field grandmaster, they were making more losses than gains. This identity meant that Wang Ting had the support of the Secondary Career Alliance. The Parkers family wouldn't be able to touch him. Not only did they not help the Parkers, but they also provoked a triple field grandmaster with high potential. Go out for wool and come home shorn. This was a good description of their situation. The most embarrassed people were the Parkers. They stood frozen on the ground in a daze. Their faces were filled with disbelief, and they were dumbstruck. How is this possible? Valteru and Sinclairman's expressions had turned hideous. They were unwilling to accept the truth. The furious flaming universe lord had a similar reaction. He never expected this to happen. He thought that Wang Ting's confidence came from his shallow relationship with the grandmasters or the high hopes the other three grand dukes had for him. This confidence wasn't enough to affect them. Unexpectedly, Wang Ting's confidence came from himself, and this confidence wasn't small. The influence of a tripe-field grandmaster could not be underestimated. The grandmasters from the Secondary Career Alliance couldn't bear to watch anymore. If Wang Ting didn't say it, they might have blurted out his identity. The Parker's family had crossed a line. If they were the ones who possessed the divine flame, were the Parkers going to snatch it from them too? They sympathized with Wang Ting's situation. That was why they were all the more incensed. In the past, people with secondary careers were normally at a disadvantage. They got threatened numerous times, resulting in the birth of the Secondary Career Alliance. They worked together so that they wouldn't get bullied. Now, the Parker's family was bullying Wang Ting, a triple-field grandmaster. This was a huge provocation to the Secondary Career Alliance. Boom. Grandmaster Alfred stood up furiously. Grandmaster Hua Yuan did the same. Grandmaster Harrell. Grandmaster Curtin. Grandmaster Mo De. All the grandmasters stood behind Wang Ting, forming a powerful and terrifying aura. Yes. A firm voice came out of their mouths. Boom. It was only a single word, but it created a sonic boom. The explosion was deafening, and it spread throughout the venue with a powerful impact. Everyone turned silent. All noises seemed to have disappeared. The crowd stared at this scene in amazement. They could feel the anger of these grandmasters as well as their protectiveness over Wang Ting. Valteru and Sinclairman's faces turned green. Their pupils constricted violently. They had to admit that the turn of events astounded them. The youngsters behind them were in a worse state. Their faces turned pale, and they lay weakly on their seats. No words came out of their mouths. The furious flaming universe lord was panting. He jumped up from his seat and gritted his teeth as he said, "Baron Wang Ting, you're good. Triple field grandmaster." Anyone could hear his anger. Even as a universe stage martial warrior, he lost his composure. One could see how furious he was. The anger raged in his heart like a ball of roaring flame wanting to devour Wang Ting. The atmosphere reached the tipping point. One side was the Parker's family and the other side was the Secondary Career Alliance. Both sides were powerful factions. Everyone looked back and forth between them. Who would be the one laughing at the end? Now, do you still think you can take my divine flame? Wang Teng asked calmly. Tripefield Grandmaster? What can you do if I want to take it? The Furious Flaming Universe Lord said expressionlessly. Furious Flaming Universe Lord, be wary of your words. The Grandmaster's expressions changed. Is the Secondary Career Alliance going to be my Parker's family's enemy? The Furious Flaming Universe Lord's gaze turned cold as he questioned them. Is the Parker's family going to trample the rules of our Secondary Career Alliance? Grandmaster Moda was a short-tempered fellow. He shouted back at the Universe Lord without any fear. The other Grandmasters didn't back down either. They stepped forward and glared at the Furious Flaming Universe Lord. Chapter 1069 The Madness of the Furious Flaming Universe Lord, Initiating a Nobility War. War was imminent. The Secondary Career Alliance and the Parker's family were at a stalemate. No one was willing to take a step back. The Furious Flaming Universe Lord was a little afraid of the Secondary Career Alliance. Even if the Grandmasters present only represented the Great Qian Planet branch, he didn't dare to underestimate them. If he ignited the public's anger and the entire Secondary Career Alliance stood up to condemn him, the Parker's family would be in deep trouble. The Secondary Career Alliance was one of the biggest factions in the universe. Their influence was widespread. But he was unwilling to let go. As a universe-stage martial warrior, he was unable to get the divine flame from a small baron even when he acted personally. What a joke it would be if the news spread. Furthermore, Wang Teng refuted him again and again. He felt humiliated and couldn't forgive him. If things ended like this, he wouldn't be able to stand his ground in the universe. Secondary Career Alliance. The Furious Flaming Universe Lord was fuming in anger. The aura around his body exploded and started circling above Wang Teng and the others. The Grandmasters from the Secondary Career Alliance weren't at the universe stage, so they couldn't resist the pressure. Their faces turned pale. They were indignant. Was the Furious Flaming Universe Lord really going to attack them? Furious Flaming Universe Lord, your family is not welcomed in my barren residence. Please leave, Wang Ting shouted coldly as he pointed at the door. He couldn't allow the Grandmasters to be humiliated. Bang! Wang Ting probably never expected his words to be the last straw for the Furious Flaming Universe Lord. It added a whole bottle of fuel to the Universe Lord's anger. He was used to oppressing others, so he couldn't accept this change of position. He couldn't care anymore and just wanted to take Wang Teng down. The aura circling above his head suddenly bore down on Wang Teng and the others. At the same time, he stretched out his hand and clawed at Wang Teng. No one expected the Furious Flaming Universe Lord to have the guts to attack Wang Teng even after he brought out the Secondary Career Alliance. They were dumbfounded. The Grandmasters were shocked too. Crazy. The Furious Flaming Universe Lord was crazy. How could he make such a decision? Wasn't he afraid of the Secondary Career Alliance's wrath? Wang Teng didn't expect things to reach this stage either. When he saw the Furious Flaming Universe Lord attacking, he squinted and wanted to retreat immediately. However, the space around him was locked by a powerful force. He was unable to move a single inch. The Furious Flaming Universe Lord was still more than 10 meters away, but the palm he created using flames traveled through space, heading straight for Wang Teng's throat. Wang Teng felt goosebumps all over his body. The threat of death gushed into his heart. He released his forces and activated his space power to the maximum to break the seal around him. Crack! A clear sonic boom was heard in the air. Bang! Then, a dull thud rang and Wang Teng managed to break free. He shot back instantly. Huh! The Furious Flaming Universe Lord's expression changed. He suddenly increased his speed. The flaming palm shot toward Wang Teng's neck at the speed of lightning. A universe-stage martial warrior was extremely powerful. There was a chasm between them that Wang Teng couldn't cross. The Furious Flaming Universe Lord didn't use his full power. Only a tinge of his space power was enough to put Wang Teng in dire straits. Wang Teng might have freed himself from his space lock, but he couldn't dodge the Furious Flaming Universe Lord's flaming palm. Within a few breaths, The flaming palm was inches away from Wang Teng's throat. It was as easy as catching a duck. Thus a tinge of contempt appeared at the edge of the furious flaming universe lord's lips. He seemed to be mocking Wang Teng for his futile struggle. Wang Teng remained expressionless though. He stared intently at the other party some distance away and placed his fingers together. An undetectable dangerous aura circled his fingers. He was using his fingers as his sword. The Godslayer sword scripture he received recently could be put to use now. The furious flaming universe lord was unprepared, so the Godslayer sword scripture would definitely be able to make him suffer a little. Wang Teng wasn't a weakling who couldn't resist. Suddenly, he froze. He detected something and stopped the attack he was preparing. Bang! At this moment, a fist mark shot out in front of Wang Teng, heading straight for the flaming palm. A huge explosion occurred. However, there was no residual impact. All the forces seemed restrained. The impact was constrained in a small space. It didn't spread out. The palm made of flames dissipated instantly. Tap tap tap. The furious flaming universe lord took 3 steps back involuntarily before he managed to stabilize himself. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. When everyone regained their senses, the exchange of blows had ended. The crowd widened their eyes in bewilderment. Their minds couldn't process the scene fast enough. What happened? Which universe stage martial warrior acted? Everyone stared around them in confusion, looking for the person who acted. Furious flaming, don't you feel embarrassed attacking a junior at this old age? A snort was heard from the side. Everyone looked in the direction of the sound and realized that it was the elder from the Ji family. Ji Xia, are you going to interfere in my business? The furious flaming universe lord's face turned red in anger as he glared at the elder from the Ji family. Just a little more and he would have succeeded. At that time, Wang Teng would be in his control. However, the other party spoiled his plans. So what if I interfere? Ji Xia replied arrogantly. He wasn't afraid of the furious flaming universe lord. I don't like your style of doing things. You don't act like a Grand Duke family at all. You. The furious flaming universe lord's face turned black. Alright, since Baron Wang Ting doesn't welcome you, you should leave. Are you going to stay here shamelessly? Ji Xia placed his hands behind his back and sneered. No way. I must get the divine flame today. If your Ji family interferes, I will initiate a nobility war. Don't blame me if that happens, the furious flaming universe lord shouted indignantly. A nobility war. Everyone was flabbergasted when they heard this. Was the furious flaming universe lord had a nut loose in his head? How could he initiate a nobility war? What was a nobility war? As its name suggested, when there was a conflict between nobles, the nobles might initiate a large-scale star war. Normally, this would result in the rise or fall of a noble family. The impact was huge. Hence, no one dared to start a nobility war casually, not even Grand Dukes. At this moment, even Valteru and Sinclaman from the Parker's family were appalled. Their expressions changed entirely. Was their ancestor serious? He wanted to launch a nobility war? This wasn't a joke. Ji Xia didn't expect the furious flaming universe lord to be this crazy. He squinted. Chapter 1070. Do you think I can stop you now? A nobility war. Wang Ting immediately felt the change in the atmosphere. The nobility war seemed to be taboo. Round ball, what's a nobility war? Wang Ting frowned and quickly asked in his mind. Hez crazy, the Parker's family is crazy. Round ball was staggered too. It shouted in Wang Ting's mind, this is the nobility war. A war that can harm the foundation of 2 noble families. There were 2 nobles that started a nobility war. It ended with both sides suffering great losses. They are the last 2 members of the Grand Dukes. They are finally starting to recover after many years of recuperating. However, they are not present at the banquet today. Wang Ting gasped uncontrollably in his heart when he heard the explanation. Although Round Ball didn't say much, he could imagine how terrifying the war was in the past. The war between 2 nobles must be frightening. It probably implicated numerous galaxies. This was a war strong enough to harm their foundation. War was the right word to describe it. Has the Parker's family always been so reckless? This was getting troublesome. If the Parker's family really initiated a nobility war for his divine flame, he knew that no one would stand up for him. The G family wouldn't start a nobility war because they owed him a favor. Even the secondary career alliance might have to take a step back. This was a question of interest. The impact of the nobility war was too huge. No, you don't understand what the divine flame means for them. I made a mistake too. I underestimated their greed and desire for divine flames, Round Ball said seriously. It felt helpless and regretful. It didn't expect the Parker's family to go this far for a divine flame. The G family turned silent. Wang Ting's heart sank to the bottom. Ji Yuanqing and the others were extremely nervous. All their expressions turned somber. However, the next second, Universe Lord Ji Xia smiled. There was disdain in his gaze as his calm voice echoed through the residence. If you want a war, we will go to war. 10 words. It was a simple reply. If you want a war, we will go to war. An unparalleled dominance and majestic fighting spirit erupted from his ancient and old body. Everyone's expression changed. They stared at him in fright. Ji Yuanqing and the others were appalled too. They lost control of their expressions. Wang Ting turned his head. He was dumbstruck. He couldn't believe that the Ji family would go this far to repay him. The furious flaming universe lord felt the muscles on his face twitching. His pupils constricted, and he stared intently at Ji Xia. The atmosphere was frightening. A storm seemed to be blowing in the air. Who would expect a baron's banquet to ignite a nobility war? Ji Xia, you. The furious flaming universe lord was shocked and furious. He couldn't find his words. He had no intention of starting a nobility war. He just wanted to force the Ji family to step back. He didn't expect that old fellow to ignore his threat and fight with him until the end. Are you afraid? Universe Lord Ji Xia said slowly. Bullshit. Why would I be afraid of you? The furious flaming universe lord roared. Come on then. The furious flaming universe lord didn't know what to say anymore. He started cursing sigh. At this moment, a soft sigh resounded in the courtyard. Wang Ting's expression changed. He looked in the air. The space in that area turned distorted, and an old figure appeared gradually. Wang Ting squinted. There was a flame on this newcomer's forehead, and he was bald. The flame was like a small phoenix. It looked divine. These two traits revealed the man's identity, another member of the Parker's family. From the force glow in his body, this person was a universe stage martial warrior, and he was at the peak too. Flaming Phoenix Universe Lord. Universe Lord Ji Xia recognized the other party. He turned grim. Flaming Phoenix Universe Lord. Someone immediately repeated the name. It's him. The Flaming Phoenix Universe Lord from the Parker's family. Oh my god, even Hez here. I heard that the Flaming Phoenix Universe Lord has been meditating for many years and hasn't interfered in his family matters all this while. Yet, he came for the divine flame. The Parkers seem firm in snatching the divine flame today. Wang Ting's gaze flickered. After hearing their exclamations, he knew the extraordinary background of the other party. It was another ancient presence from the Parkers. Even he felt a little helpless now. He took much effort and made use of many chances and opportunities to get himself here. Yet, he was still in muddy waters. Both he and Round Ball had underestimated the Parkers' family's greed and their shamelessness. Who would have expected them to send 2 universe stage martial warriors to deal with him? What Wang Teng didn't know was, his exceptional performance in the past was the real reason why the Parkers' family sent 2 universe stage martial warriors. The furious flaming universe lord was the front line. If he succeeded, that would be the best. There was no need to activate the other universe stage martial warrior. After all, it was a little embarrassing to send 2 universe stage martial warriors to deal with a planetary stage martial warrior. Of course, if things reached that stage, the appearance of the second universe stage martial warrior would ensure their success. It was obvious that the second case came true. Wang Ting's triple field Grandmaster title and the interference of the Ji family were both outside the Parkers family's prediction. From the start, both parties were fighting with their trump cards. Wang Teng revealed his trump card and astounded the Parkers family. The Flaming Phoenix Universe Lord appeared and scanned his surroundings. He looked at Universe Lord Ji Xia and said, "Ji Xia, you can't stop us. The renowned Parkers family has activated 2 Universe Stage martial warriors to take care of a baron. You've surprised me today." Universe Lord Ji Xia sneered. He felt a little helpless. "No matter what you say, the result tonight won't change," the Flaming Phoenix Universe Lord replied calmly. Universe Lord Ji Xia snorted. He wanted to help, but he didn't have the ability to. He wouldn't be able to stop 2 Universe Stage martial warriors on his own. "Baron Wang Ting, I think you should pass the divine flame to me." The Flaming Phoenix Universe Lord's gaze finally landed on Wang Teng. His tone was monotonous. He sounded like a bandit who had barged into other people's homes and asked the owner to give him their money. He made it sound right and proper. He sounded calm yet domineering. Silence. Everyone looked at Wang Ting in pity and shook their heads with a sigh. Sigh, what can he do now? Wang Teng's expression didn't change, but he felt a hint of humiliation in his heart. Seeking fortune in danger? He had obtained the Baron title and gained a footing in the Great Qian Empire. Even Cao Hongtu couldn't touch him. Yet, the result was still the same. He still felt helpless in front of a powerful faction like the Parkers family. This wasn't his issue. His opponent was too strong and despicable. He also overestimated the influence of the Empire's law and order. A powerful presence like the Parkers family was able to overlook the laws and get anything they wanted as long as they didn't go too overboard. If they didn't kill Wang Ting openly, everything was fine. This was why they dared to come directly to his residence to snatch the divine flame not long after his ceremony. They had no qualms about it. "Wang Teng, hand it over. You have no choice." The furious Flaming Universe Lord smirked. "I'm sorry, that's impossible. Don't even think about it." Wang Teng suddenly relaxed. He sat down casually in his chair and glanced at the Parkers family. He was well prepared. He was ready for a life-or-death struggle. Hence, he had no fear in his heart. With his current space power, there was a chance that he could escape. Revenge was a dish best served cold. He couldn't beat them now, so he had to wait. As long as he was alive, he would take revenge for everything he suffered today. "Huh." The Flaming Phoenix Universe Lord sighed. "I don't want to fight with a junior like you, but you're really insensitive. Chimph, old man, come and attack me. Let's see if I'm a weakling you can control easily." Wang Teng snorted. The Flaming Phoenix Universe Lord turned green in anger when Wang Teng called him an old man. He finally understood why the furious Flaming Universe Lord was so enraged and wanted to initiate an ability war. This young brat was infuriating. "I guess I have to act personally. This time, no one can help you." The Flaming Phoenix Universe Lord was about to act. Wang Teng's gaze turned sharp. The space power in his body churned violently. "Ha ha ha, I don't think so. What if I come in?" Peals of laughter were heard at this moment. The Flaming Phoenix Universe Lord frowned and looked in the direction of the Cavendish family. The person who spoke was Baller. Wang Teng looked over too. Besides astonishment, one could also see gratitude in his eyes. The Cavendish family didn't owe him any favors, but Baller still stepped out to help him. This was a huge favor from them. The young fellow from the Cavendish family. The Flaming Phoenix Universe Lord said, "You're only at the heaven stage. You can't stop me." Baller snorted when the elder called him a young fellow. A powerful aura suddenly exploded from his body. Bang! The force fluctuations around Baller's body rose tremendously. He stepped over the gates of Heaven stage and entered the Universe stage. There, his aura continued climbing until he reached the third-level Universe stage. Sigh, it's uncomfortable to suppress my ability all the time. Baller let out a long sigh and stretched his back. Everyone was flabbergasted. They were in a daze. Baller was suppressing his ability. He had reached the Universe stage. The stimulation was a little too great. The people present needed some time to react. Even Di widened his eyes in shock. He was filled with disbelief. He didn't know that Baller was concealing his cultivation. This fellow. Universe Lord Ji Xia laughed heartily. To him, Baller was a junior too. Hence, he found it interesting when Baller released his true power and caused frustration and exasperation to the Flaming Phoenix Universe Lord and the others. Do you think I can stop you now? Baller looked at the Flaming Phoenix Universe Lord and asked. Chapter 1071 Universe Stage Battle. As Baller's voice resounded in the residence, the Parkers felt bitter and embarrassed. The muscles on the Flaming Phoenix Universe Lord's face started to tremble. His appearance had stabilized the situation for the Parkers, but Baller's sudden interference caused him to be at a disadvantage. The Parkers' plan was jumbled up. This was infuriating. The furious Flaming Universe Lord felt extremely frustrated. His emotions were like a roller coaster. They had used all their trump cards, but in the end, they still couldn't touch that little brat. There was always someone standing up for him. He didn't understand why these Grand Duke families were willing to help a small planetary stage martial warrior who just came to the Great Qian Empire and had no foundation. This didn't make sense. Valteru, Sinclaman, and the others felt the same way. They were waiting for their elders to take Wang Ting down so that they could vent their anger. Yet, even after 2 universe stage marital warriors appeared, they couldn't touch him. No one spoke out loud, but everyone was conversing through voice transmission. They were astounded. Some were gloating. They were laughing at the Parkers for biting a hard and smelly piece of rock. Their teeth probably got cracked from biting too hard. The Flaming Phoenix Universe Lord took a deep breath and said in a low voice, "This matter has nothing to do with the Cavendish family. Are you sure you want to interfere?" "That's right, Baller. You really want to go against us for his small baron? The Parkers will not take things lying down if someone ruins our plan. You better be prepared to withstand the Parkers' wrath," the furious Flaming Universe Lord said with a stern expression. Boom. Boom. After he spoke, the 2 universe stage martial warriors looked at each other and released their universe stage aura. They were using their force of presence to pressure Baller. They wanted him to beat a retreat before the impossible. This was a fight to see whose aura was stronger. The weaker one would be at a disadvantage. Baller's expression changed. With his ability, it was still hard for him to withstand the powerful aura of 2 universe stage martial warriors. Their combined strength was terrifying, especially when one of them was at the peak of the universe stage. The pressure they gave was immense. A normal universe stage martial warrior might shrink back in the face of such difficulties. After all, they didn't have any background to rely on. However, Baller was different. He had the Cavendish family supporting him. Their foundation was no weaker than the Parkers family. Hence, he wasn't afraid. He couldn't win against them, but he didn't back down either. Damn it, these 2 ancient relics are shameless. Baller cursed in his heart. Wang Teng was in the center of these 2 forces and was withstanding massive pressure. With his ability, staying in the center was akin to a small boat floating on the surface of the ocean. He would capsize at any moment. Wang Teng frowned. The spiritual constellation in his consciousness spun furiously, giving off a shimmering glow that stabilized his body like a pillar holding up the sky so that he wouldn't get crushed by the pressure. The nobles around him also felt the pressure. Many of them turned pale and were unable to withstand it. This was like hell. Duke Sichu was a universe stage martial warrior and the pressure wasn't targeted at him, so he didn't get affected. However, Sichu Weina and the other young members of the Sichu family were all pale in the face. Large drops of sweat poured down their foreheads, and they were on the verge of collapsing. Duke Sichu turned serious. A powerful force of presence swarmed out of his body and surrounded his family members like a shield. Sichu Weina and the others could finally breathe properly. Most of the youngsters were in the same state. However, the elders in their families were busy looking after themselves. They didn't have the time and effort to care about them. As a result, the youngsters could only shiver in fear under the overwhelming pressure. Some of them almost cried. Sichu Weina, Jiang Chenxi, and Jiang Weishen glanced at Wang Teng involuntarily. He was in the middle of this battle of aura, but he could withstand their pressures with his own ability. They were amazed. This guy. They felt a little dejected. They had no choice but to admit that Wang Teng was indeed extraordinary. Boom. At this moment, Universe Lord Ji Xia released his powerful aura too. Old brats, are you trying to win in numbers and force him back using your auras? Universe Lord Ji Xia said with disdain. Baller laughed and released his aura too. The pressure around him climbed higher. He called me uncle. How can I let him be bullied by others? Wang Ting glanced at him gratefully. Baller helped him because he called him uncle. This was even more precious than the Ji family helping him because of his favor. Also, there must be a reason why Baller hid his real strength. Yet, he revealed it because of him. Mind you, Wang Ting's only interaction with the Cavendish family was through Di Qi. Yet, they supported him greatly. This wasn't something a normal person could do. The combined aura of Universe Lord Ji Xia and Baller wasn't any weaker than the two flaming Universe Lords. They started a fight of strength. Both sides were at a standstill for some time. No one managed to gain any advantage. Alright, since you want to interfere in this matter, we'll have to fight. The flaming Phoenix Universe Lord bellowed as his face turned red. He was infuriated. As his anger boiled, force surged out of his body like gigantic waves. Bang! 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 The flower vases and the decorations in the room shattered from the impact of the force. Flowers and plants were damaged, and broken shards of glass flew everywhere. Great, let a junior like me experience the power of the seniors from the Parkers family. Baller wasn't frightened. He rolled up his sleeves and got ready for a fight. His rough behavior was a huge contrast to his handsome appearance. The force in his body erupted and crashed towards the force of the flaming Phoenix Universe Lord. Bang! The two forces collided in midair and set off a terrifying explosion. Boom! The furious flaming Universe Lord took a step out when he saw this. Force swept through the residence like a tsunami. Ha ha ha, count me in. Universe Lord Ji Xia laughed and joined in. Immense force flowed out from that ancient body. Boom! 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 Explosions were heard all around them. The force collision of 4 universe stage martial warriors was exceptionally terrifying. The space around them started to collapse from the pressure, and pitch-black dimensional rifts appeared. Retreat! The martial warriors around them were appalled. They quickly fell back as far away as they could from the center of the collision. Even a heaven stage martial warrior would be heavily injured if they got sucked into the dimensional rifts. Boom! In the next second, the 4 martial warriors shot into the sky. An intense battle erupted in the pitch-black night sky. Chapter 1072. They look like a bunch of dogs. Boom! 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 In the dark night, frightening explosions broke the tranquility. The entire Great Chen City was in shock. Several powerful martial warriors rushed out of their residences to check out the situation. They saw 4 extremely dense balls of force in the night sky. They were like 4 huge stars that were constantly colliding against each other, shaking the surrounding space. The power of origin faintly emanated from them. For universe stage martial warriors are fighting, someone exclaimed with a tone full of disbelief. What is going on? Why are they suddenly fighting? This is Great Chen City, who dares to cause trouble here? Oh my god, they are actually using the power of origin. This is insane. Countless astonished voices were heard all around. Exclamations came one after another. In the Baron's residence, everyone was stunned. The 4 universe stage martial warriors started fighting just like that. No one even had the time to react, and they were already up in the sky. Why are they so reckless? Can't everyone just sit down and have a good chat? Most people wouldn't dare to be presumptuous in Great Chen City. No one would have thought that the furious flaming Universe Lord and the others would actually do it. Wang Teng was also astounded. He knew very well that universe stage martial warriors wouldn't fight unless they had no other choice. At the very most, they would only use their words. However, Baller and the others actually fought. This. Wang Teng's eyes were solemn as he looked up into the sky. A fight between universe-stage martial warriors had too many implications. It might lead to unforeseen circumstances. At that moment, Wang Ting suddenly felt the warning signs as his heartbeat suddenly accelerated. The hairs on his back stood up, and his scalp went numb. Danger! Boom! Without hesitation, Wang Ting used the power of space and punched forward. The imprisoned space suddenly made a screeching sound and loosened. Wang Teng's figure blurred for a while before disappearing from his spot. Swoosh! A figure appeared in the spot where he was previously. It was a grim-looking Valturu. Wang Teng retreated and was full of shock and rage. He didn't expect Valturu and the others to attack him after the 4 universe-stage martial warriors had left. However, he didn't have time to think about it as the space around him was imprisoned again. Another figure emerged from behind and tried to grab him. "Little bitch, die!" Sinclairman's malevolent voice sounded beside his ear. "Go away." Wang Teng suddenly turned as though he had eyes on his back. Leaving behind an afterimage, he swung his hand, and a peculiar sword glow slashed out. Plop! Sinclairman's face was full of disdain as he sneered and grabbed the sword glow with his hand. Boom! However, in the next moment, Sinclairman's face went stiff in disbelief. He caught the sword glow, but he wasn't able to crush it. Instead, extremely strange energy burst out from the sword glow and slashed against his body. Sinclairman retreated a dozen meters back with a frown. The hand that had caught the sword glow was lowered, and it seemed like it was trembling slightly. Suddenly, a drop of dark red blood fell from his arm. Plop! A long and narrow sword mark appeared on Sinclairman's sturdy arm, and blood spurted out. This all happened in a flash. Not even a minute had passed from the moment Valturu and Sinclairman attacked Wang Ting till the moment Sinclairman was repelled. Everyone regained their senses. They were astounded and stared at Valturu and Sinclairman. 2 heaven-stage martial warriors were attacking a planetary-stage martial warrior, and they even ambushed him. This was really shameless. And the problem was that they failed. Sinclairman was even injured a little. Everyone stared at Wang Ting in astonishment and was unable to think straight. Was he really just a planetary-stage martial warrior? Shameless. Despicable. The expressions of the Grandmasters of the Secondary Career Alliance changed, and they shouted in rage. Duke Situ and some other nobles stood up abruptly. They were shocked by the behavior of the Parkers family. They felt that the Parkers were embarrassing the nobles. Valturu, this is too much. Duke Situ lambasted. Valturu and Sinclairman didn't utter a word, and their faces turned gloomy. Exchanging glances with each other, they threw themselves at Wang Teng again despite the crowd's disapproval. "You dare to ruin my business." A loud roar came from the skies. And Lan finally rushed over. His 1,000 armaments vessel turned into a streak of icy cold light and rushed toward Sinclairman while he personally clashed with Valturu. Boom! 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 Move! Valturu roared and terrifying flames condensed in his fists. He then threw out punches in a bid to repel Lan. There was not much time. He only wanted to catch Wang Ting and not get stuck with someone else. However, Lan wouldn't let him do whatever he wanted and bogged him down. He was at the peak of his strength as he faced 2 heaven-stage martial warriors all by himself. Valturu was very powerful, and his body was wrapped in flames. The surroundings turned into a domain of flames, pulling Lan in. It was chaotic. There were 4 universe-stage martial warriors fighting in the sky, while 3 heaven-stage martial warriors were fighting to the death here. The surroundings had turned into a pandemonium. Wang Ting was expressionless, but he was just suppressing the endless rage in his heart. He was staring intently with a chill in his eyes. The Parkers family. One day, I, Wang Ting, will make you pay for what happened today. He clenched his fists tightly, and his knuckles were turning white. Enough. Suddenly, a calm voice resounded. At the same time, Wang Ting realized that the surrounding space seemed to slow down and freeze gradually as if there was a force trying to lock the world. The fight between the 3 heaven-stage martial warriors was stopped, not because they didn't want to fight but because the domain was destroyed out of the blue and they were thrown out of it. Their faces were full of astonishment. Even the battle between the 4 universe stage martial warriors couldn't continue. Their force attacks vanished into space as if they had been grabbed by an invisible hand and squashed. There was no sign of any damage. The faces of the 4 universe stage martial warriors twitched as they bowed in the direction of the Great Chen Palace. Gathering a crowd and fighting, disregarding the laws of the Empire, you guys are very capable. The voice came from space. I wouldn't dare, the furious flaming universe lord replied frantically. Go back to sleep if that's the case. The Parker's family will be fined 30% of the resources, and the Cavendish and G families will be fined 10% each. Are you dissatisfied? No, the 4 said quickly. All right, if that's the case, disperse. The voice then paused for a while. By the way, the matters of the young ones will be settled by them. You old people shouldn't be shameless and interfere. If word gets out, you will be a laughing stock. Yes. The furious flaming universe lord and the flaming phoenix universe lord's mouths twitched. They were aggrieved, but they could only nod helplessly. There was dead silence. The voice didn't sound again as if it had never appeared to begin with. Furious flame, flaming phoenix, you tried to steal a chicken, only to end up losing the rice. Ji Xia laughed heartily. Baller was also gloating as he looked at them. Furious flaming universe lord and flaming phoenix universe lord both looked gloomy and snorted before leaving. Valteru and Sinclemans had dark and gloomy expressions. They looked like bruised fruits. Wang Ting, you're lucky today, Valteru said with a cold voice. The 2 divine flames shall be yours for the time being. We will get them sooner or later, Sincleman declared. Scram. Wang Ting shouted coldly. Ph, let's go. Valteru and Sincleman were furious and full of hate. But when they thought of the voice just now, they couldn't say anything else. They then brought the other members of the Parker's family and left the barren residence. Everyone looked at them leaving with complicated expressions. The strong and domineering Parker's family had suffered such a big loss in the hands of a baron today. It was truly unexpected. They look like a bunch of dogs. Wang Ting suddenly exclaimed. Everyone. Chapter 1073 Do or Die. Valteru and the others hadn't gone far. They turned around abruptly when they heard Wang Ting's words. Wang Ting. Valteru glared at him. The other members of the Parker's family eyed him furiously too. They looked as if they wanted to skin him alive. Wang Ting wasn't afraid of offending the Parker's family, especially after the imperial family had interfered. He continued cursing. What are you looking at? Dogs like you will bite any bones you see. Will you eat shit if you see it? A Grand Duke family? You're just shameless scumbugs. Do you really think you're something? Come on. I'm not moving. Attack me if you have the guts to do so. There was dead silence. Everyone stared at Wang Ting with a complicated expression. They were filled with astonishment and confusion. At the same time, they admired him. Impressive. Amazing. He dared to call the Parker's family dogs and cursed them. Wang Ting was definitely one of kind. Bite any bones they saw? Would they eat shit if they saw it? Look at what he said. No one found his vulgarities crude and coarse. Instead, they felt a little refresh. The Parker's family always used their Grand Duke status to abuse their power. They never looked the small nobles straight in the eye. Many noble families were their victims. Today, Wang Ting vented their frustrations. Especially after seeing the Parker's family's furious but helpless expression, they felt invigorated like downing a bottle of ice-cold Coke in summer. The youngsters were dumbfounded. They couldn't believe that Wang Ting dared to curse the Parker's family. Even the always composed Situ Weina widened her beautiful eyes. Ha ha ha. Baller floated down from the sky and burst out laughing. He didn't care about the Parker's family's feelings at all. Universe Lord Ji Xia didn't mock the Parker's family openly, but he couldn't hide the smile on his face either. He gave Wang Ting a look of approval as if telling him that his curses were amazing. Many people felt the same way. Although they didn't laugh, they were all gloating in their hearts. Little brat, you're looking for death. Valteru and Sincleman almost went crazy. They started screaming in anger. If the imperial family member hadn't opened his mouth, they might have killed Wang Ting without caring about the consequences. But they didn't dare to. The imperial family had spoken. Who dared to resist? Even the Grand Duke families would be exterminated if they provoked the imperial family. That would be the end of them. This was the first time the Parker's family felt helpless and frustrated ever since their rise to fame. They didn't understand why the high and mighty imperial family member would speak up for Wang Ting. Their faces turned as black as the bottom of a pot as these questions spun in their minds. Flames of anger were shooting out of their eyes. If looks could kill, Wang Ting would have died multiple times. You're right. I'm looking for death. From now on, either I die or your family dies. Do or die. Wang Ting's gaze was cold and sharp. His voice gave off a bone-penetrating chill. Everyone's expression changed. Even Baller and Universe Lord Ji Xia were appalled. His voice wasn't loud, but it seemed to come right from hell. It was like the whisper of an evil spirit seeking revenge from the living. Everyone could hear Wang Ting's determination. Besides resolve, they also detected a hint of madness. Do or die. He was sending a life-or-death challenge letter to the Parker's family. He was challenging the entire Parker's family alone. How crazy was he? An ant trying to destroy a big tree. Everyone was dumbfounded. No words could describe their emotions now. The Parker's family members were shocked too. Waves of astonishment crashed into their hearts. This bastard! This bastard! How dare he? They didn't think that Wang Ting had the ability to topple their powerful family, but when they heard his eerie voice, they felt a chill running up their spine. No one knew what to say. Wang Ting smiled. So, try your best to kill me. If you don't, I'll wipe all traces of the Parker's family in the universe. His smile was calm but hideous. Since there was no room for discussion, he didn't mind going to the extreme. Many younger generations of the Parker's family took a step back. They were frightened by Wang Ting. Andre was standing among the Parker's group too. He trembled unconsciously when he saw Wang Ting's expression. The hair stood up on his back. He felt as if he was targeted by a dangerous predator. Although Wang Ting wasn't eyeing him, he still felt this way for some reason. H, a nobody like you won't be able to do anything. The flaming Phoenix Universe Lord's contemptuous snort broke the atmosphere. Wang Ting didn't say much. All the coldness on his face disappeared, and he resumed his composure. He said indifferently, "Get out of my residence. In the future, dogs and the Parker's family will not be allowed to enter here. Annie, remember to put a sign on the entrant." The Parker's family members' expressions turned distorted. They were greatly humiliated, but they couldn't kill the other party. It was infuriating. Oh, Annie couldn't retain her composure and stood there in a daze. The series of events that occurred frightened her until she lost her words. She shrunk in a corner with the rest of the servants. After hearing Wang Teng's command, she nodded hurriedly before she managed to regain her senses. "H, remember your words. The Parker's family will let you know what regret is." The flaming Phoenix Universe Lord floated over again. His voice echoed in the air along with his roaring anger. Wang Ting ignored him and just stood there calmly. He shifted his gaze away from the Parker's family, afraid of dirtying his eyes. Valteru and the others glared at Wang Ting one more time before leaving for Real. This place gave them a taste of humiliation and frustration. They didn't want to stay any longer. After the Parker's family left, the atmosphere finally relaxed a little. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. "Everyone, I'm really sorry that you had to experience all that today." Wang Teng glanced around him and said apologetically. "You're too polite. You didn't wish for this to happen either." "That's right, please don't take it to heart. Baron Wang Ting, you need to tidy up your residence. We won't stay here and disturb you." "Well, make a move first." "That's right, well, leave first. Let's gather again another day." Everyone got up and left. They felt complicated. Some sympathized with him, others felt pity for him, some respected him, some kept their distance, and some treated him with disdain. Baron Wang Ting, will be leaving too. Jiang Hanfeng and the other members of the Jiang family walked over and bid farewell to Wang Teng. They seemed a little distant. Jiang Chenxi and Jiang Weisheng stared at Wang Ting from the back with complex expressions. But they didn't say anything. Wang Ting knew what they were thinking. The Jiang family didn't want to be part of his conflict with the Parker's family. They came to the banquet today because they saw Wang Ting's high potential and wanted to pull him to their side. But he offended the Parker's family and even sent them a letter of challenge. He was overestimating himself and tempting fate. They gave up the thought of recruiting him after knowing that he was someone who didn't know his limits. Wang Ting didn't mind. He didn't think that the Jiang family would help him to resist the Parker's family. Since he had no hope, he didn't feel any disappointment or resentment. He kept quiet and sent the Jiang family personally to the entrance. Baron Wang Ting, you surprised me with your courage. Duke Sichu walked over with Sichu Weiner. He laughed as he spoke. Duke Sichu, you're overpraising me. I was just forced to do that, Wang Teng replied with a bitter smile. Ha ha ha, it doesn't matter if you were forced or not. You're the only person who has ever done such a thing. Duke Sichu chuckled. Wang Ting shook his head. All right, you have many things to settle, so I won't disturb you. You youngsters can interact more in the future, Duke Sichu continued. Sichu Weiner looked at Wang Ting with her beautiful eyes and nodded at him. Honestly, what happened today gave this arrogant young lady a huge boost. Wang Ting left a deep impression on her mind. Whether it was his own ability or his triple-field Grandmaster identity, he showed how extraordinary he was. Hence, she didn't mind befriending him. Wang Ting sent them off. He was a little surprised by Duke Sichu's attitude. He didn't think that they would still be willing to make friends with him after everything that had happened. Grandmaster Wang Ting. Grandmaster Alfred and the other Grandmasters walked over. Thank you for helping today, Wang Ting said gratefully. You're the triple-field Grandmaster of the Secondary Career Alliance. We won't allow others to bully you. However, we do apologize that we couldn't offer much help. Grandmaster Alfred and the other Grandmasters felt a little apologetic as they spoke. Please don't say that. What you all did is enough. The Parker's family is just too crazy. It's not your fault. Wang Ting shook his head. I didn't know that you were a triple-field Grandmaster. Baller walked over with Di Chi. He sounded quite surprised. Ha ha ha, Grandmaster Wang Ting saved my life with his 9-essence soul congealing pill. Universe Lord Ji Xia smiled. Oh, so this is how you're met. No wonder you're willing to help him. Baller was enlightened. No matter what the reason is, I'm extremely grateful for your help. Wang Teng cupped his fists and thanked the two martial warriors sincerely. No problem. You're Di Chi's friend and you called me uncle. If I let others bully you, I won't be able to hold my head up anymore. Baller waved his hands and replied nonchalantly. You saved my life. All I did was help you. It's nothing. Universe Lord Ji Xia waved his hands too. If you ever need me in the future, please find me. I will do my best to repay your kindness, Wang Teng said. Chapter 1074 The Good News Among the Bad News. 1. Wang Teng casually chatted with them. Baller put on a mysterious expression and asked, Wang Ting, do you know who stopped us just now? I think it's Grand Duke Chongshan, right? Wang Teng replied. Huh. You could tell? Baller was surprised. The other party's voice traveled through space and he spoke in a stern and domineering tone. It was different from the Grand Duke's voice he heard that day. It's just my guess. Wang Teng recalled the day he met Grand Duke Chongshan. Anyway, I'm surprised that he's willing to stand up for you. Universe Lord Ji Xia stroked his beard and said. Isn't it because the commotion was too huge? Wang Teng was puzzled. He detected the meaning behind their words. No matter how big a commotion, the imperial family will not interfere in such small matters, Universe Lord Ji Xia replied. Small matters? Wang Teng was shocked. Do you think you can gain the Empire's protection after becoming a baron? Baller asked with a smile. I used to think so. Wang Ting shook his head. But now, to other small factions or low-tier civilizations, A baron of the empire is a powerful character and the Parker's family is a formidable faction. But to the imperial family, you're nothing. They won't bother about you, Baller explained. You're just like two children fighting. Universe Lord G. Shia added, of course, the killing of nobles isn't allowed in the empire. The Parker's family will have to pay a huge price if they break this rule. So this is the empire. Wang Ting muttered to himself. Wang Ting, you need to understand that the universe is huge and it's ruthless. Only your own power can protect you. You will only be able to roam around freely and do whatever you want if you're strong enough, Universe Lord G. Shia said in an earnest tone. Wang Ting nodded. His thoughts started to float away. He understood the principle, but he had just come to this empire, so there were many things he couldn't do. Even if he was a bug, he couldn't jump levels and catch up with a formidable faction like the Parkers in a few days. Truthfully, if it wasn't for Earth, he wouldn't have rushed to the Great Qian Empire. That way, he wouldn't harm the interest of the Parkers and their representatives. Cao Hongtu was just a piece of chess under them, but since he touched the chess piece, he would have to face the Parkers. This was something he never expected when he came. That's why we're surprised that Grand Duke Chongshan appeared, Universe Lord G. Shia said. I don't know either, Wang Ting shook his head and replied. Universe Lord G. Shia and Baller exchanged glances with each other. They stopped probing since Wang Ting honestly didn't know the reason. The imperial family has spoken, so those old fellows from the Parker's family won't find you again as long as you're in the empire. You don't have to worry too much, Baller patted his shoulder and consoled him. They might try to harm you in secret though. The imperial family won't be able to say anything if they're not discovered, Universe Lord G. Shia said. Then, Baller, Universe Lord G. Shia, and the Grandmasters from the Secondary Career Alliance left. The Baron residence finally resumed its peace and quiet. However, the courtyard was a mess. Everything was badly damaged. Wang Ting scanned his surroundings with a sharp gaze. No emotions could be seen on his face. Annie and the other servants walked over and stood quietly behind him. They didn't dare to disturb him. They felt that their master was extremely scary. Violent undercurrents seemed to be surging under that calm face. The Divine Spirit Master, Bertha, led the guards over and stood some distance away from Wang Ting. She looked at his back with mixed emotions. She couldn't calm down even after a long time. What happened today gave them a huge stimulation. The threat of the Parker's family, the help from the other Grand Dukes, the Triple Field Grandmaster title, the appearance of the Imperial family. They couldn't believe that all these things had happened to one guy. Aunts they finally knew that their master was an extraordinary presence. Tidy the place, Wang Ting said calmly. Yes. Annie bowed. Wang Ting didn't speak again. He turned and returned to his room. Sitting cross-legged on his bed, he closed his eyes. Round Ball appeared and said, Wang Ting, why don't we run away? You can run away if you want. I still have to fight against them, Wang Ting replied without opening his eyes. But that's a Grand Duke family. You offended them and said that you will exterminate them. They definitely hate you to the core. How can you beat them? Why don't we run away? Round Ball said agitatedly. I'm not afraid of death, Wang Ting replied. You sigh. I shouldn't have persuaded you to come to the Great Qian Empire. Round Ball was filled with regret. Wang Ting ignored it. He was focusing on his attributes panel. Many attribute bubbles had dropped during the battle between the Universe Stage and Heaven Stage martial warriors. Wang Ting picked them up silently after his guests left. These were attribute bubbles dropped by powerful figures. Wang Ting was filled with anticipation. Constellation Force, Fire, * 5000 Constellation Force, Fire, * 6000 Origin of Flame * 200 Furious Scorching Beast * 100 Constellation Force, Fire, * 8000 Constellation Force, Fire, * 7000 Origin of Flame * 300 Star Phoenix Flame * 150 Dragon Blood Battle Physique * 200 Constellation Force, Lightning, * 13500 Origin of Metal * 250 Constellation Force, Wind, * 11800 Origin of Wind * 200 If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1075 The Good News Among the Bad News. 2. Constellation Force, Fire, *3000 Constellation Force, Fire, *2000 Ocean Whale Flame *300 Ocean Whale Flame *400 Blazing Domain *200 Blazing Domain *150 Constellation Force, Metal, *4000 Metal Domain *250 Celestial Realm Spirit *800 1 by 1. The attribute bubbles were absorbed by Wang Teng. His body kept shaking. His mind cleared up, and he was ecstatic. Good Lord! There was a lot of good stuff. There were a total of 31,000 points of Constellation Fire Force, 17,500 points of Constellation Metal Force, and 11,800 points of Constellation Wind Force. With the influx of Constellation Force, his fire, metal, and wind elements advanced greatly. Wang Teng's body suddenly shook. His Constellation Metal Force had already reached its peak and it was about to advance to the next stage now. Massive amounts of Constellation Metal Force circulated in his body, spreading and flowing through his limbs and bones. Wang Teng's expression changed slightly. He immediately followed the steps that he took when he was advancing his Constellation Fire Force. He perfected the Celestial Stage Celestial Metal Scripture first. Just like that, he consumed 20,000 blank attributes. However, he didn't feel sorry at all. He continued to focus on controlling the circulation of metal force in his body before sending it into his sea of nihility. Amid a tremor, a golden bridge condensed by Constellation Metal Force slowly emerged. Boom! All the metal force surged above the sea of nihility and merged into the constellation. Hum! The Constellation Metal Force began to shake violently. It then rushed out toward the center. Boom! Along with a loud noise, a terrifying wave of force swept out. The collision of the constellations formed a golden vortex. Countless golden crystals decorated it, presenting a dazzling scene. It was like one was looking at the countless stars in the universe. This scene was similar to when he was advancing his Constellation Fire Force. Wang Teng was familiar with what was happening. He then focused on the vortex, only to see it collapsing inwards and slowly converging at one point. Another transformation had started. Time passed. No one knew how long it took. The golden vortex had disappeared, turning into a golden sphere. It was several times larger than the 9 constellations. It seemed like it was entirely made of golden crystals. Celestial Stage. Wang Teng's metal force had reached the celestial stage. There was a strong force of life that gushed out from the Constellation Force. It then merged into Wang Teng's limbs and bones. His body was once again subjected to a transformation from a planetary stage body to a celestial stage body. Be it bones, blood, muscles, or his cells, they were all undergoing a transformation. However, he had already transformed once. This was just a process of strengthening his body. With this, his body would be twice as strong as an ordinary celestial stage martial warrior, or maybe even stronger. This was because his force was obtained from the system and was extremely pure. It was way above what ordinary martial warriors could obtain. The process of advancement seemed slow, but in reality, it was incredibly fast. It was done in just a short while. Huff! Wang Teng exhaled slowly and opened his eyes. A dazzling golden light flashed in his pupils. You advanced. Round Ball was startled. That's right. Wang Teng nodded. Were you angered by the Parker's family to the point that you advanced? Round Ball said with a weird expression. Go away. Wang Teng grunted angrily and closed his eyes once again. He then looked at the attributes panel. Constellation Metal Force, 8500 10,000, Celestial Stage First Level, Constellation Fire Force, 39500 70,000, Celestial Stage 7th Level, Constellation Wind Force, 38400 70,000, Celestial Stage 7th Level. His Constellation Fire Force and Constellation Wind Fire Force didn't advance, but they improved greatly. As he continued looking down, He was surprised. 500 points of origin of flame. 250 points of origin of metal. 200 points of origin of wind. 3 powers of origin. He actually managed to obtain 3 powers of origin. It was unbelievable. Only universe stage martial warriors could master powers of origin. But now, Wang Ting obtained 3 of them. He tried to understand the powers of origin and felt like he was in a world of fire, metal, and wind. There was nothing around, only these 3 pure sources of power. They weren't flames, metal, or wind. They were just the most basic source of power, the very beginning of these powers. 3 balls of powers of origin finally became still and stopped. Wang Ting felt that he could use them in his attacks. The resulting power would be extraordinary. He took a deep breath and continued looking. Furious scorching beast. Star phoenix flame. Ocean whale flame. 3 strange flames. After getting these 3 flames, he knew that they were beast flames. They had peculiar powers and were different from ordinary flames. These 3 flames were from the Parker's family. The ocean whale flame was from Valteru and Sinclaman, which Wang Ting had already obtained. The star phoenix flame came from the flaming phoenix universe lord, while the scorching beast flame was from the furious flaming universe lord. Although the 3 flames were not as powerful as divine flames, Wang Ting still welcomed them. It was funny how the Parkers wanted to snatch his divine flames but didn't know that their flames were all obtained by him. He even had their special physique. Dragon Blood Battle Physique. As the Dragon Blood Battle Physique attribute bubbles merged into his body, a surge of heat spread in his limbs, causing his body to undergo interesting changes. Wang Ting felt that he was about to become a giant fire behemoth, possessing the ability to control all kinds of flames. It was a blazing giant dragon. The ability was different from his usual use of flames. It was able to integrate the power of flames into his body and strengthen it. The stronger the flames, the stronger the Dragon Blood Battle Physique. No wonder the Parkers wanted his divine flames so badly. If beast flames could bring out multiple times the power of Dragon Blood Battle Physique, then a divine flame would be able to bring out at least a dozen times more power. They couldn't be compared. At the same time, this Dragon Blood Battle Physique could control different flames concurrently. The more flames, the stronger it was as well. This was a great thing for Wang Ting. He had many flames, a total of 7 different flames, 4 divine flames and 3 beast flames that he had just obtained. If he used them all at the same time, how powerful would this Dragon Blood Battle Physique be? The more he thought about it, the more he wanted to try and test it. It was a pity. Dragon Blood Battle Physique, 210,000, first rank. He had just obtained Dragon Blood Battle Physique and there were very few attributes. The physique was not extremely weak, but he wouldn't be able to unleash its full potential. As for the Parkers family, there were very few people who could control more than 2 different flames. They had a special method of absorbing flames, but it was only limited to 1 flame. The difficulty would be multiplied when it came to the second flame, and it was almost impossible for them to succeed. If they were not careful, they would be consumed instead. Wang Ting sneered in his heart. If the Parkers family knew that he had acquired the Dragon Blood Battle Physique that they were so proud of, they would vomit liters of blood on the spot. Besides that, Wang Ting also obtained 2 domains. Blazing Domain. Metal Domain. Wang Ting had previously acquired the Tempest Domain. Now, he obtained the Blazing Domain and Metal Domain. He was just a celestial stage martial warrior, yet he possessed 3 domains. No one would believe it if word got out. The Blazing Domain was Valteru and Sinclaman's ability. They dropped 350 attribute points. Metal Domain was Enlan's. There were 250 points of that. Blazing Domain, 351,000, first rank, 35 meters, Metal Domain, 251,000, first rank, 25 meters. Wang Ting nodded and looked at the Celestial Realm stats. Enlan was after all a Cosmos Stage Divine Spirit Master. He dropped a total of 800 points of Celestial Realm Spirit, which greatly improved Wang Teng's spirit. After taking a look at his loot, Wang Ting realized that he had gained a lot. This was good news amongst the other bad ones. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1076 The Decision of the Olent Federation. 1. The feud between Wang Teng and the Parker's family spread throughout the city like wildfire even before the day ended. Many people couldn't understand his actions. They felt fearful. Discussions were abundant in all corners of the city. Is Baron Wang Teng crazy? What a joke. How dare a baron challenge the Parkers? I must ask my descendants to stay away from Baron Wang Teng in case they offend the Parkers. Wang Teng is tempting fate. The Parkers family is not a faction he can deal with. I don't think he can live for long. The Parkers will not allow someone who dares to challenge them to live. Hes dead. But I have to admit that Baron Wang Teng has got some balls. If he can overcome this ordeal, his future accomplishments will be immeasurable. Everyone had their own view. But overall, most people thought that Wang Teng would win and mocked him secretly. Only a small portion found him extraordinary. If he could rise even in this dangerous situation, he would become a greater and more powerful presence than the Parkers family in the future. This was exceptionally high praise. But there weren't many people who thought this way. Over the next few days, many people came to check the situation in the Baron residence, only to realize that there were only unimportant servants left there. Their master had disappeared without a trace. Many people wondered if Wang Teng had secretly run away due to fright. A pitch-black universe spacecraft was traveling at high speed. Everywhere was dark. They had entered the boundless space. This was the universe-level spacecraft left behind by the Flaming River Universe Lord. Wang Teng gave the QYE-63 spacecraft to Hardy so that he could fly to Earth first. Thus, Wang Teng could only use the universe-level spacecraft left behind by the Flaming River Universe Lord now. Also, the speed of this universe-level spacecraft was much higher than the QYE-63 spacecraft. Wang Teng was in a hurry to get back to Earth, so this spacecraft was the best choice. He didn't care if he would catch the attention of other formidable warriors. He was already facing many troubles. He didn't mind adding one more. Round Ball, where are we? Wang Teng opened his eyes and asked. Round Ball waved its hand, and the outdoor simulation mode of the spacecraft was activated immediately. We are 30,000 light-years away from the Great Chen planet. Round Ball looked at the star chart and replied. What about Bertha? Wang Teng nodded. He had brought half the guards with him for this trip, only leaving 20 in the residence. The Baron residence was located on the Great Chen planet. The Parkers family wouldn't dare to cause trouble there since the Imperial family had spoken. Hence, Wang Teng wasn't worried. They are in the training room. Round Ball smiled and changed the image displayed to the scene inside the training room. Bertha was training the other Celestial Stage martial warriors. The team had only been formed a few days ago, but they were already well disciplined and had great teamwork. Bertha did well. Wang Teng was surprised. I think she has relevant experience in the past. This fairy divine spirit master isn't an ordinary Cosmos Stage martial warrior. Round Ball touched its chin and guessed. Wang Teng nodded in deep thought. You're really lucky. Round Ball said, that Mecha Heaven Stage martial warrior is willing to continue helping you. I mean, you've offended the Parkers. Do you think everyone is as timid as you? Wang Teng glanced at it in contempt. Me? Timid? Round Ball pointed at itself. Its eyes widened in anger. How am I timid? Explain yourself. Wang Teng sniggered. This is infuriating. You don't seem to understand the severity of the issue. Am I timid? I'm just worried about your life. You don't understand my concerns. Round Ball was furious. All right, I'm not going to argue with you. Things have already happened, so it's useless to say anything now. Wang Teng waved his hand. Sigh. Round Ball was stunned for a moment. Then, it lowered its head like a deflated balloon and sighed dejectedly. Instead of complaining, why don't we think about how to deal with the Parkers' revenge? Wang Teng said. What plans can there be? Hide while you can. Find a good spot after you settle the matters on Earth and cultivate properly. Work hard to gain the strength to challenge them. The universe is huge. The Parkers family's influence might not be able to reach every part of it, Roundball said. Wang Teng rolled his eyes. However, he had to admit that this was the best plan. What could you do if you couldn't win? Stay low. Wang Teng shook his head and closed his eyes. Roundball continued to pilot the spacecraft. The spacecraft rushed forward at high speed, flying towards Earth without stopping. Olant Federation. The Olant planet. As the capital, the Olant planet was the most prosperous place in the Olant Federation. Its economy, technology, and culture had reached an astonishing level. It had a huge population, and there were many powerful martial warriors here. The majority of the powerful martial warriors and factions were gathered on this planet. Based on the development of this planet, the Olant Federation did have the right to be called a universe civilization. Even though it was only a low-tier civilization, it was still a universe civilization. It held some sway in the universe. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1077 The Decision of the Olant Federation. 2. In comparison, Earth was an inconspicuous piece of gravel in the ocean. At this moment, there was a meeting going on in the middle of a big city in Olant Federation. The city was called Saint Star City, which was where Saint Star Pagoda, the largest academy in Olant Federation, was located. It could be said that the entire city was owned by Saint Star Pagoda. That was why it was named after it. Saint Star Pagoda had an extraordinary status in the Olant Federation. It had groomed numerous formidable warriors of various fields for the Federation. There was no force that could threaten the Saint Star Pagoda in the Olant Federation. Even the higher authorities were cautious of them. In the meeting room, the virtual network was connected. Powerful figures appeared on both sides of a long table. These figures represented various races. Some had fine scales on their faces while some looked like ordinary humans. There were people from the fairy race, orc race, etc. The atmosphere was tense. No one was speaking as if they were afraid of something. But it didn't take long before someone shouted, "How will this matter be resolved? Come up with a solution. No one even knows if Kathu of the Blood Moon race is dead or alive. Are you all just going to let me wait like this?" This was a ferocious-looking sturdy middle-aged man with a blood-red mutated beast totem on his upper body. If Wang Teng were here, he would be able to tell that this person was from the same race as the alien candidate who came to Earth for the trial. They were from the elite Blood Moon race from Olant Federation's Crimson Moon Galaxy. Manka, it's not just the Blood Moon race that is in this predicament. The other races do not know the status of our talents either, another man with short stature and fine scales on his face said. That's why we shouldn't hesitate anymore. We should just head to Earth and demand an explanation, Manka suggested. It's easy for you to say. Cloet said that the martial warrior from Earth has gone to the Great Chen Empire and might have even obtained their protection. Do you dare to demand for someone from the Great Chen Empire? A golden-haired man said. This is Sai. Manka was speechless and aggrieved. He could only sigh helplessly. Cloet, the majestic old man with grey robes, was at the meeting as well. He opened his eyes and looked in a direction. Lady Qing Lun, during the previous trial, only Biluo from the Emerald Abyss Galaxy returned, and she even brought someone from Earth with her. You have to give us an explanation. Everyone's gaze landed on the same seats. There were two people sitting over there, a green-haired lady in her 30s and a young woman with long green curly hair. Cloet's gaze stayed on the young woman for a while, which seemed particularly meaningful. This young woman was Biluo, who had survived Earth. Qing Lun frowned and said, I have already given an explanation. Biluo only cooperated with that Earthling once and didn't become an enemy of his. This was why he allowed Biluo to leave. It's reasonable to cooperate with the natives during the trials. If you want to find faults, then the Emerald Abyss Galaxy won't be easily bullied. Everyone frowned. Their descendants were now in the hands of that Earthling, and only Biluo came back without a scratch. They found it unfair. But Qing Lun made sense. They couldn't possibly blame Biluo. Moreover, the Emerald Abyss Galaxy was as powerful as them, and it wasn't that easy to deal with them. If they didn't let go of this matter, it won't do anyone good. We can take Biluo's matter as it is, but you have to hand over the Earthling that she brought back. Cloet had no intentions to deal with Biluo and put up his next demand. Impossible. That child possesses the rare light physique and has been taken in by me. I can't hand her over to you. Qing Lun refused without hesitation. Lady Qing Lun, you have to think carefully. We require an explanation, Cloet said coldly with a grim expression. That's right, Qing Lun, hand her over. The scaled man echoed. The others spoke in succession and agreed with the decision. They weren't fond of Earthlings. Now that they had no leads, they could only go for the person that Biluo brought back. It was Alaise. Biluo sat beside Qing Lun and was clenching her fists and teeth tightly. She brought Alaise back. If anything happened to her, she would feel guilty. Moreover, Alaise and Wang Ting had a close relationship. If he came back and saw that something had happened to her, what would he think? She wanted to say something, but it wasn't her place to speak. She was filled with helplessness. H. This matter is not negotiable. I'll not hand her over to you. If you have the guts, you might as well send an army to Earth, Qing Lun said solemnly. Biluo heaved a sigh of relief. However, when she heard what followed next, she was startled and went pale. Send an army to Earth. This was not a small matter. She didn't think that her mother would suggest something like this. If they really sent an army to Earth, things would get out of hand. Earth would definitely not be able to defend against the Olent Federation. By then, it would become hell for humans, and they would not be spared. If this had happened in the past, she wouldn't have bothered about an underdeveloped planet. She wouldn't even care. However, Earth was Wang Teng's home. If they touched Earth, they would have a deadly feud with him. With her understanding of him, he wouldn't just let it go like this. And Wang Teng, who had inherited the title of a baron, had the ability to do so. Although he was just a baron, he was a baron from a high-tier civilization. He should not be underestimated. If he returned, he might have the ability to overturn the Olent Federation. Biluo didn't want anything like that to happen. Cloet's face darkened slightly. He wanted to send an army to Earth as well, but he was afraid and didn't want to go that far. Qing Lun's words forced him into a corner, making him embarrassed. The meeting fell into an eerie silence. No one could make a choice when it came to sending an army. With their strength, dealing with a planet without planetary-stage martial warriors was a piece of cake. The problem lay with Wang Teng, who had gone to the Great Qian Empire. They didn't dare to act rashly without any definite news. Let's send an army. Just at this moment, an old man spoke. He was the president of Saint Star Pagoda, one of the 3 heaven-stage martial warriors of the Olent Federation, President Sheng Luo. Everyone turned pale in shock when they heard the words. They looked at the old man in astonishment. Even Qing Lun, who gave the suggestion, was speechless. Her mouth was wide open, and her heart was in shock. The dignity of the Saint Star Pagoda shall not be violated. If the one who killed our instructors is not removed, no one would be convinced by Saint Star Pagoda, President Sheng Luo said calmly. But, no buts. This decision was jointly made by the 3 of us. The Federation's dignity shall be protected, President Sheng Luo said. Everyone stopped talking. The prestige of the Federation had to be protected. No one could refute that. Not to mention, the decision was jointly made by the 3 heaven-stage martial warriors. They couldn't possibly reject them. In the Olent Federation, the 3 heaven-stage martial warriors were like their guardians. Without them, there would be no Olent Federation. No one could deny their decision. If there are no questions, go back and prepare. We will take down Earth. President Sheng Luo's voice was extremely calm. He slowly disappeared after speaking. Everyone was silent for a moment before leaving, each with their own thoughts. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., Please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1078: The Dawn of Danger. Many days later, in the training room of the universe-level spacecraft, two figures flashed around the room quickly, colliding occasionally and giving off a loud explosion. Force waves swept through the place. Powerful attacks landed on the walls and ground, igniting sparks that ricocheted off. No marks were left behind. A universe-level spacecraft could resist the attack of a universe-stage martial warrior, so its defensibility was definitely strong. The training room had other special defense measures too. The attacks of these two people couldn't even damage the shield, let alone hurt the body of the spacecraft. Actually, even if marks were left behind, the metal would mend the wounds quickly based on its memory as long as it wasn't a destructive attack. Boom. The two parties finally retreated and stopped more than 10 meters away from each other after a collision. Again. Wang Ting panted slightly and shouted. He charged forward again. While he was still halfway through, emerald-glazed flame surged out of his body and engulfed him. Is he planning to use his divine flame? This isn't right. And Lan, who was fighting with him, pondered to himself. Wang Ting didn't use the flame as an attacking move. Instead, he sucked it back into his body using an unknown method. Box and oval. C0M well, he didn't exactly suck it back. The divine flame merged with his body. Flame patterns appeared on his skin like runes, making him look mysterious and uniquely beautiful. What's this? And Lan frowned. He was surprised. Be careful. Wang Ting warned in a soft voice. Boom. In the next instant, powerful energy shot out from his body while his aura climbed continuously. He seemed to have turned into a frightening giant flame beast as he hurled himself forward. Interesting. And Lan smiled. He was extremely interested. Wang Ting wouldn't be able to beat him. However, the young man's current state made him extremely interested in him. Boom. Wang Ting appeared in front of An Lan in an instant. There were flames burning around his fists as he smashed them out. In the blink of an eye, both of them clashed again. This time, the collision was more violent than before. Both parties went back and forth countless times, flashing through the training room until only lingering shadows could be seen. Scorching heat erupted from the center of their collision, raising the temperature numerous times. Bertha and the other celestial stage martial warriors were dumbfounded. Wang Ting's ability was only at the celestial stage. Bertha had learned this recently. She always thought that he was at the planetary stage. Despite the difference in their ability, Wang Ting could still have an intense battle with the Mecha Heaven Stage martial warrior. It was unbelievable. Although the Mecha Heaven Stage martial warrior didn't use all his power, Wang Ting's ability couldn't be compared with a normal Celestial Stage martial warrior. His strength was enough to threaten a Cosmos Stage martial warrior. Bertha turned serious. She felt that she might not be able to defeat Wang Ting easily if she fought with him. She might even lose to him if she made a mistake. After some time, they separated, and Wang Ting suddenly pointed in front. A beam of golden light appeared, cutting through the air and causing a sonic boom. And Lan's gaze turned sharp. A beam of black light shot out from his hand and turned into a flying dagger. It crashed into the beam of golden light. Clang! A clear metallic tremor was heard. The black and golden beams of light separated and clashed in the air. Divine Spirit Master. Bertha took a deep breath. Her mouth parted slightly, and she was shocked. Master is a Divine Spirit Master too. Suddenly, she felt that her chances of success were getting lower. What kind of pervert was he? One shouldn't compare sometimes. She was already quite powerful. She could beat all other martial warriors at her level, but upon seeing Wang Ting, she started doubting her strength. I'm not fighting anymore. Half an hour later, Wang Ting stopped. He kept his golden crescent blade and waved his hands at An Lan. An Lan kept the 1,000 armaments vessel. He stared at Wang Ting strangely and said, I only realized your strength after fighting with you. You have gotten stronger since Flaming River World. I did make some improvements. Wang Ting nodded, not denying it. However, He felt a little regretful. But him still too weak. Everyone was speechless. Especially Bertha. She felt that she was being humiliated. If he was weak, what was she? She felt sad for some reason. You must be stimulated. And Lan chuckled and nudged him. Wang Ting. You just stabbed my heart. Do you know that you don't have to expose some things? Don't give up. Your enemy is the Parker's family. You can boast for 10 days and nights about this in the universe, and Lan consoled him. Wang Ting waved his hand. He lost interest in speaking after absorbing the attribute bubbles of a few Heaven Stage and Universe Stage martial warriors. He felt that his ability had increased. Hence, he came to find Lan for a duel. He wanted to test his power. In the end, he realized that with his current ability, he had no problem dealing with martial warriors at the 3rd level Cosmos stage and below with his Dragon Blood battle physique. If combined with his spiritual power and domain, he could handle martial warriors at the 4th to the 6th level of the Cosmos stage. As for the power of origin and the Godslayer sword scripture, they could be used to kill martial warriors at the peak of the Cosmos stage. He might even be able to harm Heaven Stage martial warriors if he caught them off guard. That was how he managed to wound Sinclairman's arm. Wang Ting, did you use? Round Ball suddenly asked him in his mind. What did I use? Wang Ting asked even though he knew the answer. The skill you used seemed similar to the Parker's family's physique, Round Ball asked angrily. It's just similar. I came up with it myself to provoke them in the future. Wang Ting came up with an excuse. Do you think I'd believe you? Round Ball said speechlessly. Where are we now? We've left the Great Qian Empire. Wang Ting nodded and went back to his cultivation. Suddenly, he thought of something and asked, oh right, and Lan, how many Cosmos Stage martial warriors do you have? 13. And Lan replied after a moment of surprise. They should be enough. Why don't I see them? Wang Ting asked curiously. They are hibernating in the Universe spacecraft, and Lan explained. Are you worried that something will happen to your mother planet? Just to be safe. Wang Ting nodded. Don't worry. 13 Cosmos Stage martial warriors and the 2 martial warriors beside you are enough for us to rule a low-tier civilization, and Lan said. Wang Ting calmed down a little and returned to his room for cultivation. At the same time, in the Olant Federation, numerous battlecraft had just left the Olant planet and were rushing towards the Milky Way. There were many martial warriors in the battlecraft, including planetary stage, celestial stage, and cosmos stage martial warriors. This frightening army was enough to destroy any planet in the Olant Federation. Now, they were heading for a faraway planet in the Milky Way. More than 10 days later, the fleet arrived outside the Milky Way. A spacecraft flew out from the Milky Way and landed on a large battlecraft that looked like a battle fortress. Cloet walked out and entered the huge battlecraft. He met up with a bunch of Cosmos Stage martial warriors. Cloet, we were waiting for you, but you didn't want to come. If the higher authorities didn't give an order, would you have run away? The rough voice of Manka, the martial warrior from the Crimson Moon Galaxy, echoed in the room. I had matters to attend to. Since the superiors gave me an order, I'll cooperate, Cloet replied calmly without any changes to his expression. That's good. It's just a remote planet. I heard that there isn't even a planetary stage martial warrior on it. What's there to be afraid of? A middle-aged man with long golden hair said. Cloet ignored him, sighing helplessly in his heart. He didn't want to participate in this mission because he had a bad feeling. However, his superiors asked him to join in, so he couldn't reject it. He had no choice. He remembered the earthling that escaped the other day and felt the corners of his eyes twitching. Hatred raged in his heart, but he felt a little fearful too. On the other side of the Milky Way, the QYE-63 spacecraft was traveling in a wormhole. Its destination was also Earth. The QYE-63 spacecraft got chased by Cloet when Wang Ting was heading to the Great Qian Empire, so he had to overload the spacecraft and increase its speed. It inflicted great damage to the spacecraft. Fortunately, after arriving at the Great Qian Empire, Wang Ting didn't need to use it, giving Round Ball plenty of time to repair it. Then, he earned a huge sum of money from rock gambling and started buying various different parts for his spacecraft. This allowed the QYE-63 to be restored to its original state. Now, Hardy was piloting this spacecraft and heading for Earth. In the control room, the exterior simulation had been enabled. Hardy stood in front of the control panel and asked in his hoarse voice, "How long more?" The celestial stage martial warriors were the ones piloting the spacecraft. When Wang Ting bought these slaves, he had taken this into consideration. There were a few martial warriors that could pilot spacecraft. One of the pilots looked at the star chart and said, "We have entered the Milky Way and will reach Earth's vicinity in 5 days. Okay, proceed at maximum speed. Ensure that we arrive as soon as possible and not delay what Master's orders," Hardy said emotionlessly. Yes. Everyone turned serious. No one dared to waste any time and quickly raised the speed of the spacecraft based on Hardy's order. Outside, in the pitch-black space, the spacecraft suddenly increased its speed and disappeared on the spot. It stretched forward like a blurred black line until it disappeared at the other end of the darkness. Thank you for reading on my box novel. Com. Chapter 1079. I came on Master Wang Ting's order. Earth. This beautiful planet was floating quietly in the universe and had its current appearance after billions of years of evolution and reproduction. Countless lives had been nurtured on this planet. No matter how many devastating catastrophes it had been through, life returned, surviving and reproducing tenaciously. Humans were the rulers of this planet. Country Xia, Donghai. A distinctive building was located here. The building was just constructed. It was several hundred meters in height, and its design had influences from various countries. Now, it was the tallest building on Earth. Global Union Building. After the Global Union was formed, the leaders of the countries proposed to have a headquarters for the Union's activities. Although each country had its own plans and would seek its own interests first, they were still united in the face of a new and upcoming era. The Global Union Building was the link for the countries. Box and Oval. C0M. As for why it was constructed in Donghai, it was because of the hero Wang Ting. Today, Wang Ting's influence on Earth was out of this world. Although he had already left the planet, the people still remembered him as their hero. Moreover, Donghai wasn't any country's capital. Having the building there was the most suitable. Today was the weekly Global Union Conference. Outside of the Global Union Building, aircraft landed in the square one after another. The leaders of each country got off their planes and greeted each other before walking toward the building. Reaching the front of the building, they would pause in front of a statue before entering the gates. Some even took off their hats. The statue was a tall, young man standing up straight with an outstanding temperament. His eyes were looking at the sky as if he was gazing into the universe. Inside the conference hall at the top level of the Global Union Building, the leaders sat down one after another. Since the conference had not yet begun, they couldn't help but talk amongst themselves softly. They chatted about current affairs and expressed their opinions. Occasionally, one or two interesting scandals would be brought up, triggering some soft laughter. Time passed slowly. The conference began after everyone had finally arrived at 9 in the morning. As usual, let's speak freely. The leader of martial arts from country Xia smiled. I have a piece of good news. The White Eagle Nation already has 5 people who have advanced to the planetary stage. The leader of White Eagle Nation started the ball rolling. 5. Everyone was startled. I think you only had 3 previously. Now there are 5 of them. The leader of Country Bat was in disbelief. Ha ha ha, we're just lucky, just lucky. The White Eagle Nation's leader laughed. 5 is really good. However, our country is not lagging behind either. We have 4 now. Very soon, the number will be 5, Country Boar's leader said. Another one from our alliance has advanced. Now, we have 3 planetary stage martial warriors, the leader of the alliance said. Everyone started by stating the number of people who had advanced in their countries as they competed with each other. In the face of the great age of the universe, it was meaningless for them to hide anything. Ever since the last time when Wang Ting left behind a planetary stage scripture, martial warriors from various countries were able to advance to the planetary stage. The number of people who broke through exceeded Wang Teng's expectations. Back then, he thought that it would be good if every country could have one of two who advanced to the planetary stage. It seemed as though he had underestimated these martial warriors. Many people had been stuck at the peak of the general stage for many years. They didn't advance only because they didn't have these scriptures. Now, all the countries were trying to surpass themselves and increase the number of planetary stage martial warriors. In fact, they were planning to create a team of planetary stage martial warriors. When Wang Teng returned, he could bring them along in the universe. Country Xia, how many planetary stage martial warriors do you have now? Someone suddenly asked. 7. The leader of martial arts smiled. 7. Everyone was astonished and full of disbelief. Their eyes were all on the leader of martial arts. Previously, the White Eagle Nation and Country Xia stood side by side. Their forces were almost the same. But now, Country Xia had 2 more planetary stage martial warriors than the White Eagle Nation. While 2 might seem like a small number, these were planetary stage martial warriors. Every single one of them was extremely powerful. Having 2 more was akin to having 2 more strategic weapons. Did Wang Teng leave more resources for Country Xia when he left? Many people were secretly guessing. Jealous. So envious and jealous of them. But they couldn't do anything about it. Wang Teng was from Country Xia. It was reasonable for him to take care of his own country. There was nothing wrong with it. In fact, Wang Teng didn't leave anything extra for them. The people from Country Xia were impressive. Congratulations. Congratulations. Congratulations, Country Xia. One after another, the leaders congratulated Country Xia while enduring the bitterness in their hearts. By the way, is there any news from Mr. Wang Teng? The White Eagle Nation's leader asked. There's no news for the time being. There was a trace of worry in the leader of martial arts' eyes as he shook his head. He was also one of the 7 martial warriors who had advanced to the planetary stage, and he was the strongest. Even when he sparred against the other planetary stage martial warriors from the other countries, no one could defeat him. Besides Wang Teng, the leader of martial arts was the strongest person on Earth. That was why everyone respected him. Is that so? I wonder when Mr. Wang Teng will return. Everyone felt a little regretful and hoped for him to come back. We should enter the universe as soon as possible. We shouldn't just solely rely on Mr. Wang Teng, the leader of the White Eagle Nation suggested. That's right. We should work together and deal with the upcoming era. What does everyone think of the planetary stage expedition team? It's feasible. We're just lacking a spacecraft that can travel through the universe. Unfortunately, the spacecraft that were left by the alien candidates cannot be used anymore. Some of the parts were disassembled. EE can't restore them using the technology on Earth. There's also a problem with energy. Without enough energy, it is impossible to travel through the universe. I'm afraid we can't even fly out of the Milky Way. The White Eagle Nation's leader initiated the discussion, and everyone agreed. They were on the same page, wanting to enter the universe as soon as possible. The leader of martial arts and the 3 great commanders exchanged glances, noticing a trace of helplessness in each other's eyes. They understood everyone's ideas and thoughts, but they couldn't make a decision. The technology of spacecraft was not a problem they could tackle. Moreover, the external situation was unclear and the universe was full of dangers. If Earth entered the universe and anything went wrong, it might be destroyed. So the best way was to wait for Wang Teng's return. Just when the leader of martial arts was about to appease the crowd, a harsh alarm rang in the conference hall. What's going on? Everyone's expression changed drastically. The leader of martial arts looked solemn and opened an image that was sent from the universe. A spacecraft that was flying towards the solar system was captured by the satellites. An image was transmitted back to Earth. It's a spacecraft. People suddenly exclaimed. Spacecraft. Are aliens coming to Earth again? Quick, alert the world. In the conference hall, the leaders were anxious and panicking. No, why does this spacecraft look like the one that Mr. Wang Teng took when he left Earth? Someone suddenly asked. What? Mr. Wang Teng's spacecraft? the White Eagle Nation's leader exclaimed in surprise. Everyone got closer and looked at the spacecraft. It really looks like Wang Ting's spacecraft. The leader of martial arts was unsure. Quick, get the satellite to monitor in real time and send us the clearest image, the leader of the White Eagle Nation commanded. After a while, a better image of the spacecraft was transmitted. Now, everyone could see it clearly, and they finally determined that the spacecraft was indeed the one that Wang Ting took when he left. Phew! Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. A look of joy appeared on their faces. Mr. Wang Ting has returned. That's great. We've talked about it for so long. He's finally back. Ha ha ha, it's good that he's back. Our plan can be put on the agenda now. The crowd was elated and thought that Wang Ting had returned. Everyone. The leader of martial arts opened his mouth and grabbed everyone's attention. We have to put the whole globe on alert, the leader of martial arts said. Wang Ting instructed us before he left. No matter who comes, we must take precautions. There are many spacecraft of the same type in the universe. And there's another possibility. If something happened to Wang Ting, Earth might be exposed. The hall went silent and the atmosphere tensed up. All right. Sound the warning alarms. The crowd agreed and sent out a series of commands. Machines went into operation, and armies, weapons, and martial warriors were all dispatched. The planet was on the highest level of alert. Countless fighter planes took off and circled the skies, forming groups and protecting the cities. There were also fighter planes preparing to intercept the spacecraft. If Wang Ting returned, there wouldn't be a problem. However, if it was an alien invader, it would be a fight to the death. 3 or 4 hours passed as everyone waited anxiously. The spacecraft was extremely fast and finally neared Earth. It entered the atmosphere and started landing, but before it landed, it was intercepted by a group of fighter planes. Please stop. The fighter planes were using the common universal language. The people on Earth were learning the common universal language. Many linguists had almost mastered it and could communicate normally. The identity of the person was unknown. Just in case, it was better for them to communicate using the common universal language. At the same time, the image here was also transmitted back by the fighter planes. The door of the spacecraft opened slowly, and a figure walked out. The powerful aura was strong and terrifying. Just standing there made people have the urge to surrender. This was the natural reaction when the weak faced the strong. Alien. When the leaders saw the grey-robed man walking out, they immediately knew that he wasn't Wang Ting. Their expressions changed. It was an alien. Did something happen to Wang Ting? Or was this a spacecraft of the same model? No matter what, this wasn't a good thing for Earth. The leaders didn't expect that they were living their worst nightmare. Wang Ting didn't return. An alien visitor came out of the spacecraft. Although they didn't know his identity, that overwhelming aura was enough to unsettle them. He was too powerful. They could feel his domineering and terrifying presence even though they were across the screen. The figure seemed to sense their gaze and looked in the direction of the camera as if he was looking directly at them. That gaze was enough to send fear into the hearts of the leaders. They were about to kneel down. Fortunately, they were strong-willed and weren't looking at him directly. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to bear it and might even do something embarrassing. This alien is very strong, too powerful. What is his purpose for coming to Earth? If he wants to attack Earth, we can't resist him. The leaders panicked. They were in an uproar, and it was difficult for them to calm down. I came here on Master Wang Ting's order. A voice came from the grey-robed man. He was speaking common universal language. Thank you for reading on my box novel. Chapter 1080. The human on Earth felt inferior. I came here on Master Wang Ting's order. The voice of the man in grey resounded in the air. Everyone was stunned. They opened their eyes slightly and couldn't react in time. What is this? Commander Long from Country Shia was so shocked that his accent came out. I can understand every word, but I don't understand them when they are in a sentence. The commander and head of the White Eagle Nation exchanged glances with each other. Did we learn our common universal language properly? The head of country bat asked. Didn't he mention Wang Ting? Did he say that Wang Ting was his master? Did I hear wrong? The head of country boar wiped the cold sweat off his forehead as he asked with uncertainty. If you heard him wrongly, we might have heard him wrongly too, the head of country star said. Everyone was in disbelief. The atmosphere turned a little awkward. Hardy, who was floating in the sky, started to get impatient. He was a Cosmos stage martial warrior from the Shadow Assassin clan. Yet, he received such a cold treatment when he came to this remote planet. If Wang Teng didn't give him this order, he wouldn't want to speak to these people at all. He would have made a move to let them understand how they should respect a Cosmos stage martial warrior. Did you hear what I said? Hardy asked indifferently again. The crowd regained their composure. Cough, let's ask the martial warrior directly. The leader of martial arts coughed awkwardly. He seemed a little hesitant, but he still voiced his thoughts at the end. Yes, we should talk to him directly. The other people nodded in agreement. When facing such powerful martial warriors, it was always better to be friendly. Besides, based on his ability, the other party didn't need to waste time with them. This meant that his words were most likely true. Everyone was astounded when they thought of this possibility. However, they had to suppress their amazement and converse with the other party. Sir, I'm the representative of the Global Union. The leader of martial arts voice came from the broadcast system of the battlecraft. He introduced himself and hesitated for a second before asking, "Have you really been sent by Wang Teng?" Hardy immediately understood the other party's concern. He was too powerful, so the Earthlings found it hard to believe him. He didn't understand how his master managed to become a noble of the Great Qian Empire when he hailed from this backward planet that didn't even have that many planetary stage martial warriors. He even spent a huge sum of money to buy him. Where did a martial warrior from a backward planet get so much money? In summary, everything seemed weird. Although Hardy was irritated, he couldn't disobey Wang Teng. He suppressed his impatience and said, "My master, Wang Teng, sent me here. If you don't believe me, you can enter the virtual universe and check with him." The leader of martial arts and the others couldn't contain their astonishment. This insanely powerful martial warrior was sent by Wang Teng. And he called Wang Ting his master. They couldn't imagine what Wang Ting went through in the few months after he left Earth. How did he manage to get such a powerful servant? However, they felt relieved too. This powerful martial warrior wasn't an invader. This was a piece of good news. As for the virtual universe, they didn't know what it was. They would ask him later. Since Wang Ting sent you, please follow the battlecraft and land in Donghai. We'll be waiting for you there, the leader of martial arts replied politely. Even though the other party was Wang Teng's servant, they didn't dare to treat a powerful martial warrior like him improperly. They would give him the respect he deserved. Hardy nodded. He didn't speak anymore, nor did he return to the universe spacecraft. The battlecraft around him received an order and flew towards Donghai, guiding the way for Hardy. Hardy and the QYE-63 spacecraft followed behind. The leader of martial arts looked up to Hardy a little more when they saw him following their fleet with ease. After some time, Hardy and the QYE-63 spacecraft landed in the plaza in front of the Union building in Donghai. Many people in Donghai saw the spacecraft, causing a huge commotion. Why is there a universe spacecraft on Earth? No wonder Donghai went into alert mode. It looks like something big is about to happen. What? Donghai went into an alert mode? Why didn't I know? Why would you know? Donghai isn't the only country on alert. My aunt's cousin is at the White Eagle Nation. He said that White Eagle Nation sounded the alarms too. The entire Earth might be on alert. Really? Is this an alien invasion? I don't think so. That universe spacecraft won't be able to enter Donghai so easily if it was an alien invasion. Oh right, Wang Ting left an array around Donghai. Normal aliens won't be able to invade us easily. Hey, don't you think that this spacecraft looks a little familiar? The leader of martial arts and the others were waiting in the plaza. Hardy landed in front of the QYE-63 spacecraft. Then, a group of celestial stage martial warriors alighted the spacecraft. There were 50 people in total. The leader of martial arts and the others widened their eyes in surprise. They were dumbstruck. Oh my God! What formation is this? All these martial warriors were wearing battle uniforms and giving off powerful auras. Every one of them was enough to wipe out the people here. All the martial warriors on Earth wouldn't be their match. Extremely terrifying. The heads of the countries lost their voices. They were in a daze. Hardy frowned. Who's the leader here? The common universal language that sounded different from the earthen languages woke everyone up from their stupor. All the heads looked at the leader of martial arts. Their intention was clear. Wang Teng is from country Xia, you can do the honor. The leader of martial arts felt helpless, but he had no choice. He walked forward and bowed at Hardy. Then, he said, were the representatives from the different countries on Earth. May I know why Wang Teng asked you to come? My master is busy, but has worried that someone will attack Earth, so he sent me here first to protect you, Hardy explained briefly. The leader of martial arts and the others nodded. They knew that he was referring to the people from the Olent Federation. Is Wang Teng coming back? He should be back within the next few days. Everyone was elated. Wang Teng's servant was already so powerful. If he came back personally, he would probably have more good news. Earth would soon be able to enter the universe era. If you have anything to tell him, you can enter the virtual universe personally and speak to him, Hardy said. What's the virtual universe? The head of the White Eagle Nation asked involuntarily. Hardy was stunned. He didn't know what to think. As expected of a native. They didn't even know what the virtual universe was. Why is Master so different from them even though they come from the same planet? Hardy explained helplessly. The heads of the nations finally understood what the virtual universe was. This was amazing. How impressive. There was a virtual universe segregated entirely from the reality in the universe. They found it impossible to imagine it with the current technology on Earth. No, it wasn't just simple technology. There were many elements they couldn't comprehend. Never mind, since you don't know about the virtual universe, you wouldn't have a virtual identity. You can't enter it. Hardy shook his head. It's all right. Wang Teng will be back soon, so we can talk to him directly, the leader of martial arts said. Yes. Hardy nodded. Please follow me. Let me arrange your lodgings. The leader of martial arts raised his hand to welcome them. Hardy followed behind him and asked, this place seems peaceful. There are no invaders. Yes, there are currently no invaders. How's Wang Teng? The leader of martial arts asked. My master is a baron of a high-tier civilization. Has no longer an ordinary martial warrior, Hardy replied with a complicated expression. Indeed, he was extraordinary. If not, why would a shadow assassin like him run errands for him? He had to admit that his master was impressive. A baron of a high-tier civilization. He did it. The leader of martial arts and the others were staggered. Their emotions turned complex too. They knew that this was an arduous path and the success rate was extremely low. However, they didn't have a choice. Wang Teng had to take the risk. Earth's future was placed on his shoulders. Yet, to their surprise, he succeeded. It had only been a few months since he left, but he was already a baron of a high-tier civilization. There were also many powerful martial warriors under his wing. This was unbelievable. None of them might be able to complete this task. Amid their astonishment, everyone had the thought of keeping a close connection with Wang Teng, especially the heads of the different countries. They didn't have the country Xia's advantage, so they must curry favor with Wang Teng. If not, they wouldn't be able to gain any benefits. The leaders led Hardy and the other martial warriors to their accommodation, the VIP guest house in Donghai. They used their best service to welcome these foreign martial warriors. They didn't treat them impolitely just because they were Wang Teng's servants. At the same time, the heads of the different countries tried to find out more about Wang Teng from Hardy. May I know what stage you're at? The head of the White Eagle Nation blinked and asked with a smile. The Cosmos stage, Hardy replied casually. Cosmos stage. Gasp. Everyone was appalled. They gasped and thought they had heard wrong. Cosmos stage martial warrior. They had some understanding of the level after the planetary stage. They knew that there was the celestial stage and the cosmos stage. This person was a cosmos stage martial warrior. A real and living cosmos stage martial warrior was in front of them. It felt like a legendary figure had walked out of the book. Were they dreaming? He was Wang Ting's servant. This was crazy. They almost started doubting their lives. What about them? The head of the White Eagle Nation swallowed his saliva and looked at the martial warriors behind Hardy. They are celestial stage martial warriors. Hardy frowned as he answered in an indifferent tone. He found this old man a little irritating. The head of the White Eagle Nation was stunned once again. He felt a little nauseous. The other heads were in no better state. Nothing could describe their astonishment. Before this, they were still proud of their countries for grooming a few planetary stage martial warriors. However, Wang Ting sent a cosmos stage martial warrior servant over. This was incomparable. The difference made them hopeless. Not only that, besides this cosmos stage martial warrior, there were another 50 celestial stage martial warriors. 50 celestial stage martial warriors. The heads of the nations understood what an abyss felt like. At the same time, they felt lucky that they didn't offend Hardy and the others. Had they provoked this bunch of martial warriors, Earth would have been a goner. This is nothing. The main army will arrive with Master. Hardy couldn't help but add this sentence when he saw their bewildered expressions. It seemed quite fun to stimulate these natives. The main army. The crowd's expressions changed slightly. They stared at one another. This person was just the front line. There were many other martial warriors arriving soon. The leaders couldn't think properly. They felt that they had underestimated Wang Ting. This was terrifying. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1081. The city is under siege. The Wang family naturally knew that Wang Ting was arriving. The status of the Wang family was extremely high, especially in Donghai. They could be considered the real masters of the city. Even the leader of martial arts and the other heads acknowledged their identity silently. This was because they knew that once Wang Ting came back, Earth might become his private property. Hence, one small Donghai was nothing. Hardy met up with the Wang family. The leader of martial arts and the three great commanders accompanied him and introduced them to each other. This is Wang Ting's grandfather, father, mother, and this is Wang Ting's. When introducing Hardy, the leader of martial arts paused. He wanted to say that he was Wang Ting's servant, but he didn't know how to say it due to the ability of this martial warrior. Baron Wang Ting's servant, Hardy didn't hide his identity and introduced himself directly. He was extremely polite to the Wang family even though they weren't powerful. Well, to him, they were very weak. He could pinch them to death with 2 fingers, but he didn't look down on them. After all, they were Wang Ting's family members. Their status was different. He had come to Earth on Wang Ting's order to protect his family. This showed that Wang Ting viewed his family with much importance. He didn't want anything to happen to them. If he left a bad impression in their minds, Wang Ting wouldn't let him go. He needed his master's approval to remove his slave status. Grandpa Wang and the others didn't know the relationship between Wang Ting and Hardy. They were surprised when they learned that this powerful martial warrior was Wang Ting's servant. Why did he call Wang Ting a baron? When did he become a baron? The leader of martial arts and the others gave a bitter smile upon seeing Hardy's attitude towards the Wang family. The difference was apparent. Hardy was still high and mighty in front of them as if he didn't want to look them in the eye. Yet, in front of the Wang family, he was extremely polite. If he wasn't a cosmos stage martial warrior, they might have been triggered by his sudden change in attitude. But the difference in strength meant that there was nothing they could do. The Wang family and Hardy started chatting. Most of the time, it was the Wang family asking him about Wang Ting. Hardy had no expressions on his face, but he answered all their questions and didn't reveal any signs of impatience. Hence, Grandpa Wang and the other family members learned that Wang Ting inherited a baron title and had an official identity in the empire. Moreover, his status wasn't low. My grandson is amazing. He became a baron. Grandpa Wang stroked his beard gently and laughed. This brat. Wang Shengguo and Li Xiumei smiled. They couldn't hide the pride on their faces. The other members of the Wang family had the same reaction. All of them were elated. The Wang family had to thank Wang Ting for their status today. The better he was, the better their treatment. They chatted with Hardy for some time. Hardy was sent over not long after he was bought by Wang Ting, so he didn't understand much about him. Thus, the Wang family couldn't get much information from him. In the end, they got up and prepared to leave with some regret. However, they knew that Wang Ting would be coming back soon. They were all excited. These 30 celestial stage martial warriors will follow you back to the Wang family. They can protect you if anything happens. Hardy sorted 30 celestial stage martial warriors out when he sent the Wang family off. What? The Wang family was astounded. They were in a dilemma. They knew that these martial warriors were all very powerful. They were all above the planetary stage and were many times more powerful than the strongest warriors on Earth. Now, this powerful martial warrior wanted to send 30 of them to protect the Wang family. They were overwhelmed. Don't worry. We're all master's servants. Protecting the Wang family is our job, Hardy said in his hoarse voice. His entire body was covered with a grey gown. Although the Wang family couldn't see his expression, they heard his words. They glanced at one another in bewilderment. The attitude of these martial warriors towards Wang Ting surprised them. In that case, you can bring these people back, the leader of martial arts said. All right, we'll accept the offer. Grandpa Wang finally relented. When the Wang family brought these powerful martial warriors back, the news started to spread to many other people. Some saw these 30 celestial stage martial warriors from afar and felt their hearts pounding. This proved how strong they were. Thus, many families close to the Wang family came to visit them and get some news. 3 days passed. Nothing happened on Earth. It remained peaceful. Will this mission end smoothly? Master should be here soon. This is the first mission he assigned me. I hope no accidents will happen. Hardy's face remained expressionless under the grey gown as he mumbled to himself. All kinds of thoughts went through his mind. As a slave, his life was in Wang Ting's hands. Even though he was a powerful shadow assassin, he had to succumb to fate. At the same time, in the boundless space, a giant fleet of battlecraft had entered the solar system silently. No one on Earth noticed them. There was a huge battlecraft that looked like a battle fortress in the middle of the fleet. Cloet was sitting in front of the central command platform. Activating the outdoor simulation mode, he saw the blue planet in front of them. Land directly. There are very few planetary stage martial warriors on the planet, so we can wipe anyone out if we see them, Manka, a martial warrior from the Crimson Moon Galaxy, said. There was a crimson mutated beast symbol on his body. No one had any objections. They were afraid of Wang Ting, but they were confident in handling a remote planet. An order spread throughout the giant fleet. The fleet traveled through space like a spirit, leaving no traces behind as they headed to Earth. They finally landed somewhere in the ocean. A fishing boat passed by. The crew on the boat raised their heads in shock and fear. Look, a universe spacecraft. Oh my, there are countless of them. Oh my God, is this an alien invasion? What should we do? Quick, let's leave. We need to report to the Global Union. There was an uproar on the boat. The crew lost their cool and started shouting with pale faces. Boom. Suddenly, a ray of light shot out from the battlecraft and hit the fishing boat directly, shattering it into pieces. Poor thing. A man with golden hair shook his head in the large battlecraft. They were just a bunch of normal people who hadn't even reached the planetary stage. Their death is nothing, Cloet said indifferently. What should we do now? Manka asked. Invade the network of this planet and get the information we want, Cloet said. Intelligence, start the invasion, Scan. Yes. A robotic voice was heard in the main control room. Rows of data flashed in front of everyone so quickly that it was impossible to catch any information with their eyes. Scanning completed. Very soon, the robotic voice sounded again. This planet is called Earth. The targets are in country Xia, Donghai. Faces started to appear in front of Cloet. They were pictures of the Wang family. Found them. Head to the target, Cloet ordered. The entire fleet changed their direction and charged toward Donghai at a fast speed. Within 20 minutes, they had arrived in the sea outside Donghai, part of country Xia's territory. Beep, beep, beep. An ear-piercing siren rang above Donghai, echoing in the entire city. What's going on? Is there another sea beast riot? Oh my god, what's that? Universe spacecraft. Those are Universe spacecraft. Goodness, there are so many of them. Many people noticed the fleet. They were flabbergasted, and chaos erupted everywhere. The leader of martial arts and the 3 great commanders received the news immediately and flew out of their lodgings. They looked at the sky above the sea grimly. An ominous feeling drifted into their hearts. Hardy saw the fleet too. He flew into the air. The celestial stage martial warriors followed closely behind him. Universe battlecraft. Universe battlecraft. The leader of martial arts squinted. He gritted his teeth and said, "How did these battlecraft enter Earth? We didn't detect them at all. The technology on your planet is too backward. These battlecraft activated their concealing system. It's normal that you can't detect them," Hardy explained. "Damn it. We're at a disadvantage," Commander Long said helplessly. "Look at their symbol. It's the same as the ones on the alien invaders' spacecraft. They should be from the Olent Federation," Commander Hong said sternly. "The Olent Federation truly wants to destroy our Earth." Commander Yong gritted his teeth. "Sir, what should we do now?" The leader of martial arts frowned and asked Hardy. He felt helpless. He could only ask Hardy for help because they had no chance of resisting this fleet. "Wait and see," Hardy furrowed his brows as he replied calmly. Even in this situation, he didn't reveal any signs of anxiety. Nothing seemed to be able to affect him. The leader of martial arts and the others calmed down after seeing his response. They had a Cosmos stage martial warrior with them and 50 Celestial stage martial warriors. This was quite a formidable team. The fleet arrived above Donghai, casting terrifying shadows on the city and enshrouding it in darkness. It felt like the apocalypse. It was nerve-wracking. "Earthlings, we give you 10 minutes to hand over Wang Ting's family and friends. If not, we will destroy the entire planet." A cold voice rang through the sky abruptly, crashing down on the city like thunder. "If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1082 Fear spread, unwilling to leave the mother planet. As the cold voice spread out, the entire city was dead silent. The voice was exceptionally loud. Everyone in the city heard it. No matter what they were doing, they put down their stuff and raised their heads, walked out of their houses, or looked out of the window. They stared at the sky in astonishment. Numerous battlecraft floated horizontally in the air like ferocious giant beasts. Their metallic bodies gave off a cold glimmer, sending chills down people's spines. After some time, a huge uproar erupted. "Hand over Wang Ting's family and friends. If not, we will destroy the entire planet." These people had come for Wang Ting. Instantly, commotions soared through the roof. No one expected the aliens to invade Earth for Wang Ting. Also, if they didn't hand him over, the entire planet would be destroyed. What should they do? Everyone panicked. They didn't know what to do. The leader of martial arts was appalled. The aliens' tactic was evil. They wanted to use this method to force everyone on Earth to oppose the Wang family. Wang Ting was extremely important to Earth. However, not everyone knew this. Many people might not be able to withstand the pressure from the aliens. 10 minutes. They only had 10 minutes. Well, It was normal for ordinary people to panic. Even some powerful figures from different nations might have other thoughts. Nothing was as important as their own lives. A sharp glint appeared in Hardy's eyes. He didn't care about the rest of the people, but he must ensure the safety of Wang Teng's family and friends. His mission was more important than anything else. As for this remote planet, he didn't care if it was destroyed. Based on what he knew, a baron from a high-tier civilization would have a galaxy as his territory. Thus, one life planet was nothing to Wang Teng. Hardy made his decision and sent a message to the celestial stage martial warriors who were with the Wang family. He asked them to bring the family aboard the QYE-63 spacecraft. If he had to, he would leave with them. At this moment, the Wang family was in a flurry. Everyone from the Wang family was in great fear. Wang Teng's aunts were just ordinary people. They had already turned pale in the face. The younger generations were scared too. They had stepped on the martial warrior's path recently and matured a little. But in front of these powerful and scary alien invaders, they were still too young. Wang Shenjun, Wang Shengguo, and Wang Shenghong had been through many situations in life. They were still able to remain calm in front of this life-or-death situation. Lin Chuhan's family was here too. They were on the protection list. They were in no better state when facing the alien invaders. Not everyone could remain composed. It was a great feat that they didn't pee their pants. "Calm down," Grandpa Wang shouted. He said in a low tone, "Things have already happened. What's the use of panicking? Little Ting will be back soon. We must believe in him." Everyone regained their composure. Yes, Wang Ting was coming back. They might not believe others, but they believed him. He would always salvage the situation and save them whenever they were in danger. This time wouldn't be an exception. Everyone cheered for themselves silently in their hearts. "Yes, I believe in him," Lin Chuhan suddenly said with a resolute gaze. Lin Chuxia clenched her fists tightly. Li Xiaomei was relieved when she saw Lin Chuhan's reaction. A smile appeared on her pale face. She held Lin Chuhan's hand and patted it firmly. Grandpa Wang and Wang Shengguo nodded in approval. Their impression of Lin Chuhan was getting better and better. At this moment, a celestial stage martial warrior walked over. He was the head of this group. He spoke in common universal language. "Everyone, Sir Hardy has given his order. Please follow me to the spacecraft for your own safety." The Wang family was overjoyed. They still had the protection of the Cosmos Stage Martial Warrior and the Celestial Stage Martial Warriors. They were temporarily safe. "Okay." Grandpa Wang nodded without any hesitation. The best method was to listen to the command of the Cosmos Stage Martial Warrior now and not drag him down. The Wang family hurriedly headed to the Global Union building. As seconds ticked by, the news spread throughout the globe at the speed of lightning. Donghai was the center of the world, so the other nations were able to get news from there quickly. All around the world, the White Eagle Nation, Country Star, Country Bat, Country Boar, as well as all cities in Country Xia, capital Xia, Guanghai, Xiangdao, Beijiang, Nanhai. News of Donghai spread to every country and every corner of the world. Some sat in front of their computer, some on their television, some scrolled their mobile phone, some stopped in their tracks and looked up at the screens on the walls of malls. The terrifying battlecraft hovering over the city entered everyone's vision, a savage appearance and a cold metallic surface. Even through the screen, one could sense fear. They couldn't suppress the despair that swarmed into their hearts. The broadcaster's voice came out from the screen, giving a live account of what was happening. In an instant, loud discussions were heard everywhere in the world. "Oh my God, what's happening? God, what did we do? Why are the aliens invading our planet? Are those the aliens' battlecraft? They look so scary. Will we be able to resist these powerful battlecraft? They want us to hand over Wang Ting's family and friend. Those devils. They want to threaten Wang Ting with his family members. Damn it, we can't let them get what they want. But they will destroy the planet if we don't hand them over. What a joke. Those who are not our kin are sure to have a different heart. We shouldn't place our hope on our opponent's mercy." "That's right. Wang Ting is our hope. We mustn't hand over his family. The entire world was in a panic. The ordinary civilians cried and wailed. Some of them stared into space absent-mindedly with pale faces. Some wanted to hand over Wang Ting's family members to get the chance to live. Others shouted to express their anger, reprimanding the alien invaders and telling them that they would never succumb. Everyone had their own thoughts. No one wanted to die. Surprisingly, in the end, the voices of those people who wanted to fight with the alien invaders flooded the other opinions. On the other side, the heads of the different nations held an emergency video conference in the Global Union building. Even the Wang family was present because they were the main party involved. The aliens will attack Earth. We need to transfer the civilians to a safe place. Let's move them to the underground shelters. That's the safest place. I agree. They made decisions quickly and sent down their orders. The people below started working without wasting any time. The military started to disperse the crowd and led them to the underground shelters for safety purposes. Can we ask the martial warriors to help us to resist the alien invasion? The head of the White Eagle Nation asked. All the heads looked at the Wang family with hope in their eyes. If the powerful martial warriors could help them, they would have a higher chance of success. Sir, Grandpa Wang couldn't bear to see Earth getting destroyed, so he still asked Hardy in the end. No. However, before he could finish his sentence, Hardy interrupted him. My mission is to protect you. Earth is secondary, he said indifferently. The expressions on the heads' faces changed. His words were extremely impolite. At this moment, they finally knew that to this formidable martial warrior, Earth held no value. The Wang family was the important one. Sir, I think that if Wang Teng were here, he wouldn't want Earth to be destroyed, Grandpa Wang persuaded him as he sighed in his heart. He also wanted Hardy to bring the Wang family away. But if he did that, they would become sinners. Even if they managed to survive, they would have to live with guilt for the rest of their lives. He didn't want the younger generations of the Wang family to carry such a heavy burden on their shoulders. Besides, it was hard to part with their birthplace. Earth was their root. If it was gone, they would have nowhere to call home in the universe. They would be like kites floating in the sky without any strings. It would be sad to live like this. Hardy frowned. He felt that Grandpa Wang's heart was too soft. He couldn't even ensure his own safety. Why bother about the planet? Every man for himself in times of danger. Shouldn't they worry about their own lives first? He had been roaming the universe for his entire life, so he didn't understand Grandpa Wang or the attachments these civilians had for their country. The leaders' expressions softened when they heard Grandpa Wang's words. However, they were still nervous. They were afraid that this formidable warrior would reject them. If that happened, Earth would have no chance of withstanding the aliens' attack. Wang Teng will be angry if he comes back and sees his mother planet getting destroyed, Lin Chuhan said. She seemed to be mumbling to herself. Her voice wasn't loud. However, Hardy's expression changed a little. There was fear in his eyes. Was this his master's partner? If she was, her words held some weight. If she disliked him and spoke badly about him in front of Wang Teng, he might remain a slave until he died. No. No way. Hardy was moved. He pondered for a moment and said, I can help Earth resist the aliens. But if things reach a dangerous stage, I'll leave with the Wang family. Okay. The leader of martial arts was elated. He nodded immediately. The other heads felt bitter and delighted at the same time. This was the best piece of news so far. With the help of these formidable martial warriors, they had some hope of withstanding the aliens' invasion. Earth had some hope too. In the blink of an eye, 10 minutes were up. The alien battlecraft started moving. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.